Chapter 747. This aura is so strong. The city lord's expression changed, and he retreated without hesitation. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth lifted slightly. He stepped on the phantom steps and instantly appeared behind the city lord. Following closely, he raised his arm and slapped the city lord's back. Puff. The city lord immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. He lost his balance and shot forward. Shua. Qin Feiyang used the phantom steps again and chased after him like lightning, stepping on the city lord's back again. Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, the city lord smashed into the glacier below like a meteorite. Kacha. The glacier within a radius of several miles was instantly razed to the ground, turning into ruins. Whiz. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also turned into a ray of light and landed on top of the ruins. The city lord was lying weakly in a deep pit, his entire body dripping with blood. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "Do you know why I attacked you?" "Why?" The city lord crawled up with difficulty and looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Because Qin Feiyang took out a facial restoration pill and placed it in his mouth. In the blink of an eye, his true appearance would be restored. Looking at that mature and determined face, the city lord's eyes almost popped out. How is this possible? It's only been a few years, but your cultivation has actually, whether it was his face or his eyes, they were filled with disbelief. Nothing is impossible when it comes to me. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The city lord's gaze trembled as he said in shock, "In such a short period of time, you broke through from the War King to the 3-star war sect. How did you do it?" Qin Feiyang said, "It's not a 3-star war sect, it's a 4-star war sect." 4-star war sect. When the city lord heard this, it was as if a bolt of lightning had exploded in his mind, rumbling loudly. No wonder even he didn't have any power to resist. It turned out that his cultivation was so strong. As for how I did it, that has nothing to do with you. Right now, you only need to answer a few questions of mine." Qin Feiyang said. "What question?" the city lord asked, his eyes filled with fear. "Pagoda master, do you have a pill pagoda now?" Qin Feiyang said. The city lord's pupils constricted as he asked in bewilderment, inquiring about the pagoda master's whereabouts. "What do you want to do?" Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold as he said, "You are not qualified to ask questions now." The city lord shrunk his neck and said, "The tower master is not in the pill tower right now." "Not here?" Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, "Where is she now?" "I don't know either. She will only appear when it's time to recruit disciples. Once the disciples are sent out of the pill tower, she will leave again." The city lord shook his head. Qin Feiyang frowned. Judging from the city lord's words, why did the pill tower sound like a temporary office? Why would he leave after finishing his business? Qin Feiyang's face darkened. "Do you really not know? Or are you pretending not to know?" "I really don't know." The city lord roared anxiously. Qin Feiyang looked at the city lord for a moment and did not find any trace of lying. He said, "Then is there no one in the pill tower now?" "Yes. The people who entered the pill tower with you back then have all been sent out." The city lord nodded. "Good opportunity." Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. As long as the tower master was not in the pill tower, the heavenly thunder flame would be his. However, if he took away the heavenly thunder flame, would this clue of Mu Qing be cut off? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang looked at the city lord and asked, "Do you know a person named Mu Qing?" "Mu Qing?" The city lord was slightly stunned. After thinking carefully for a moment, he said, "The person who entered the pill tower with you back then?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "I know. Although his alchemy talent is not as good as yours, he is still considered one of the best," the city lord said. Qin Feiyang said, "The answer I want is not this, but his background." The city lord shook his head and said, "I don't know about this. You have to ask the tower master." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "Then it seems that there is no use in keeping you." "Heard of it." The city lord's expression changed, and he hurriedly said, "Don't kill me. I will do whatever you want me to do." "Is that so? Then if I ask you to go and get the heavenly thunder flame for me, do you dare to go?" Qin Feiyang looked at him mockingly. The The city lord's expression stiffened. The owner of the heavenly thunder flame was the tower master of the Pill Tower. After being together for so long, he knew the tower master's strength better than anyone else. It was no exaggeration to say that even if he was a 2-star combat grandmaster, he would not be a match for the tower master. Therefore, even if he borrowed courage from the heavens, he would not dare to touch the heavenly thunder flame. Furthermore, now that the Pill Tower was in a closed state, even if he wanted to, he could not enter at all. This was because the stone door of the Pill Tower required the blood of the Tower Master to open. In the end, you are still worthless, Qin Feiyang said. He slowly raised his arm and battle aura surged at his fingertips. Please, don't kill me. Can I be your slave? The city lord was terrified and directly knelt on the ground and begged. He had just broken through to 2-star combat grandmaster and did not even have the time to enjoy the pleasure brought by strength. He was unwilling to die just like that. Looking down at this person, Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Suddenly, his heart stirred and he slowly lowered his raised arm. Seeing this, the city lord was pleasantly surprised. Was he not planning to kill him? Not long ago, I mastered a very powerful ability. I will use you as an experiment. Qin Feiyang suddenly grinned and formed a seal with both hands in front of his chest. Buzz. In less than 3 breaths, a palm-sized pentagram appeared. It was the slavery seal. As Qin Feiyang waved his hand, the slavery seal rushed into the city lord's head like lightning. Immediately, the city lord revealed a pained expression as he hugged his head and howled miserably. But very soon, he stopped screaming. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also clearly sensed that he had already controlled the city lord's soul. What did you do to me? The city lord suddenly raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. His eyes filled with shock and bewilderment. Slavery seal, Qin Feiyang said indifferently. With a slight thought, the city lord immediately screamed again. His face was distorted and looked incomparably ferocious. Damn it, what the hell is this? My head hurts so much, the city lord roared hysterically, feeling as if his head was about to split into 4 or 5 pieces. But this intense pain disappeared in the blink of an eye. Although it was only in the blink of an eye, the city lord felt as if he had experienced 10,000 years of pain. His entire body was already drenched in sweat. The slavery seal can control the soul. Now, no matter where you are, no matter how many years have passed between us, as long as I think about it, I can make you die on the spot. Moreover, I can also see through your thoughts, Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, the city lord collapsed to the ground on the spot, his face pale. Remember, don't do anything to betray me. After all, to me, you have no value at all. It doesn't matter whether I keep you or not. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. The city lord quivered and hurriedly knelt on the ground, saying, Thank you, master, for not killing me. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Go back now and pretend that nothing happened. Heavenly Thunderflame? The city lord asked cautiously. Qin Feiyang said, I need to think about it again. If I really decide to snatch the Heavenly Thunderflame, you have to pretend to stop me. Understood. The city lord nodded. Qin Feiyang said again, Take out the image crystal and establish a contract bridge. If there is any news in the future, it will be convenient to inform me. Yes. The city lord replied respectfully. After he took out the image crystal and established a contract bridge with Qin Feiyang, he said respectfully, Then I will go back first. By the way, when you go back, investigate Mu Qing's background for me. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. The city lord nodded respectfully, then opened a portal and left quickly. Qin Feiyang also lowered his head and fell into deep thought. It was not worth it to lose the clue of Mu Qing in order to snatch the Heavenly Thunderflame. But the problem was, would Mu Qing come back again? After thinking about it again and again, Qin Feiyang finally decided to wait. He would wait for the next Pill Pagoda assessment and see how it goes. Swish. He flashed and entered the ancient castle and began to copy the 3rd stroke of the kill formula. Strength could solve everything. Whether it was in the Forgotten Land or the Great Qin Empire, his current strength was far from enough. And according to his speculation, The situation in the Forgotten Land might be more complicated than the Great Qin Empire. The City Lord Mansion. As soon as the City Lord returned, the guard commander asked, "Sir, where is Qin Feiyang?" The City Lord said, "He ran away." "What? He can escape from your hands?" The guard commander was very shocked. "He didn't escape from my hands. After I went there was no trace of him. I don't know where he is hiding now." The City Lord said, "So that's how it is." The guard commander was suddenly enlightened and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. If he really escaped from the City Lord's hands, it would be too shocking. "Okay, I'm a little tired. I'm going to rest. You also keep an eye on the outside. Once there is news about Qin Feiyang, report to me immediately. In addition, investigate another person. This person is called Mu Qing. I want to know all the details about him. The sooner the better." The City Lord ordered. "Yes." The guard commander nodded in response, then turned and strode away. Sigh. Who did I offend? Who did I offend? The City Lord let out a deep sigh. With a stomach full of resentment, he quickly disappeared from the hall. Time passed in a flash. 3 months passed. Boom. On this day, Qin Feiyang's arm trembled, and the third stroke of the word kill under his fingertips blossomed with a dazzling light. His aura also soared. In the blink of an eye, he had broken through the shackles and reached the level of a 5-star war master. However, compared to the first and second strokes, the third stroke took even longer. If one were to calculate carefully, it would be 3 months and 2 days. As for the next few strokes, it would definitely take a lot of time for him to complete them. However, he was very satisfied. After all, for others, it would take at least a few years or even decades to break through a small realm of the War Master. 5-star War Master. I'm one step closer to the War Saint. Just you wait, I'll be back soon. Chapter 748. Buzz. Soon, the City Lord's shadow appeared and bowed. "Greetings, Master." Qin Feiyang asked. "I asked you to investigate Mu Qing. How is the investigation going?" "I'm sorry. I'm incompetent." The City Lord panicked and hurriedly knelt on the ground. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. "I've sent people to investigate all the tribes within a radius of 10,000 miles. There's no such person as Mu Qing." The City Lord panicked. Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, then asked, "What about the tribes deeper in?" The Forgotten Land was extremely vast, and the Sky Thunder City was not the end. And in the depths, there were even more powerful tribes. The City Lord shook his head. "I didn't inquire about the tribes deeper in." "Why not?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "Master might not know, but there is a glacier 1,000 miles away from the Sky Thunder City. According to the City Lord, fierce beasts ran amok in the glacier. With his strength, entering would only lead to death. This was equivalent to saying that this glacier was a dividing line. Qin Feiyang said, "You should know about the tribe on the other side of the glacier, right?" "I've heard of that. There are 2 large tribes right across the glacier. They are the Wang tribe and the Li tribe. Rumor has it that the population of these 2 tribes is in the hundreds of thousands, and they both have a 5-star war sect overseeing them," the City Lord said truthfully. 5-star war sect. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, his eyes revealing a trace of disdain, and asked, "How long until the next Pill Pagoda assessment?" "For months." The City Lord thought for a moment and said. Qin Feiyang immediately frowned. He actually had to wait for 4 months? The City Lord hesitated for a moment, then carefully asked, "Master, there's something I don't know if I should say." "Speak," Qin Feiyang said. The City Lord said, "Once when this subordinate was chatting with the Pagoda Master, she accidentally said something." "What did she say?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. The City Lord said, "She said that the Pill Pagoda's power is huge, enough to control the situation of the Forgotten Continent." Qin Feiyang's expression froze. How could a mere pill tower have the power to influence the entire Forgotten Continent? Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Other than Sky Thunder City, are there any other pill pagodas? Somewhere else?" The City Lord was stunned. After thinking for a moment, he shook his head and said, "I don't know. This subordinate only knows that there is only one pill tower in this region, the Sky Thunder City. After that, the City Lord also seemed to have thought of something and said in surprise, Master's meaning is that Sky Thunder City's Pill Tower might just be a branch of the Pill Tower? This is the only explanation. Otherwise, the Tower Master wouldn't dare to say such a thing. Qin Feiyong said, It does seem reasonable. The City Lord nodded thoughtfully. If that was the case, then it would be too inconceivable. That's not right. As the Sky Thunder City Lord, why don't you even know the ins and outs of the Pill Tower? Qin Feiyong frowned. It was common knowledge that every place had a person who wielded supreme power. For example, in the spiritual state, whether it was the Black Bear City, Yin City, or the Prefecture City, they were all under the jurisdiction of the Palace Lord. The city lords of the various cities were naturally considered subordinates of the Palace Lord. Similarly, above the Sky Thunder City Lord, there should be even more powerful people in charge. Even if the Sky Thunder City Lord didn't know, those higher up in power should at least know the ins and outs of the Pill Tower, right? And the Pill Tower was located in the city, occupying a place. Shouldn't the person in charge above reveal a thing or two to the Sky Thunder City Lord? At the very least, the City Lord of the Sky Thunder City should know the origins of the Pill Tower, right? But why was the City Lord of the Sky Thunder City unaware? When the City Lord heard this, he said respectfully, Master, you may not know this, but this Pill Tower is very mysterious. It is even older than the Sky Thunder City. After pausing for a moment, the City Lord continued, Rumor has it that the first-generation City Lord had to obtain the consent of the Pill Tower's Pagoda Master before establishing the Sky Thunder City. This, Qin Feiyong was a little stunned. Furthermore, the cities of the Forgotten Land are basically built by rogue cultivators like us. They have nothing to do with any tribe or power. The City Lord added, I see. Qin Feiyong revealed a look of understanding. If that was the case, then it was not strange that the City Lord of the Sky Thunder City did not know the ins and outs of the Pill Tower. But suddenly, Qin Feiyong realized that he had overlooked a problem and said, You just said that this place is called the Forgotten Land? That's right. Master doesn't know? The City Lord nodded and looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong said, I am not from here, so of course I don't know. In our place, this place is called the Forgotten Land. Forgotten Land? The City Lord was stunned and said with a flattering smile, It's only 2 words, not much difference. The difference is huge. Qin Feiyong looked at him indifferently. Although it was only 2 words, the meaning was as different as heaven and earth. The Forgotten Land could be understood as a small place to train and would not be too big. But the continent was different. The continent included many plates and was the general name of a world. This also meant that the Forgotten Continent was a complete world. It could even be an independent big world. Looks like the water here is very deep. Qin Feiyong muttered to himself and calmed down a little. He looked at the City Lord and said, Do you know the coordinates of the Li tribe and the Wang tribe? Never been there. I don't know. The City Lord shook his head. Qin Feiyong frowned and said, Okay, on the day of the Pill Tower's examination, remember to send me a message. Also, help me collect the medicinal ingredients for the battle chi pill, the more the better. Finished speaking, he turned off the image crystal. Farewell, Master. The City Lord respectfully bowed and watched Qin Feiyong's image disappear. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. But immediately after, his face was filled with bewilderment. If he wasn't from the Forgotten Continent, then where did this mysterious master come from? After Qin Feiyong put away the image crystal, he was not in a hurry to copy the 4th stroke of the kill character formula. He walked to the front of the Flood Dragon Cauldron and opened the furnace to refine pills. The pill he was refining was naturally the battle chi pill. Now, in the ancient castle, other than the Black Dragon Snake, everyone needed a large amount of battle chi pills to cultivate. Especially when copying the 6-word divine formula, the consumption of battle chi pills was several times that of Fatso and Wolf King combined. And the battle chi pills that he had refined before had already been used up. So, in the next 4 months, Qin Feiyong planned to use all of it to refine battle chi pills for future use. Time was like the sand between fingers, passing in the blink of an eye. City Lord, informed that the Pill Tower's examination will officially begin in a month. 3 months later, in the morning, a woman's voice resounded in the sky above Sky Thunder City. It was crisp and pleasant to the ear, but it carried a great sense of majesty. This was the voice of the Pill Tower. At the same time as the voice sounded, a graceful woman stood in the sky above Sky Thunder City. She had a head of long sky-blue hair that was like the clear sky, making her look pleasing to the eye. But on her cheeks, she wore an exquisite mask that covered her true appearance. Her temperament was outstanding. Although her true appearance could not be seen, she gave off a stunning feeling. It was the pagoda master that Qin Feiyong had been waiting for a long time. However, before the people of Sky Thunder City could react, the pagoda master had already entered the Pill Tower and disappeared without a trace. But hearing the pagoda master's voice, everyone was in an uproar. This news was like a plague, crazily spreading to the various tribes. For a time, the people of the various tribes were all wild with joy. The Pill Tower's examination had finally begun again. Qin Feiyong also received the City Lord's message at the first moment, but he did not immediately head to Sky Thunder City. Instead, he buried himself in refining pills. After all, there was still a month's time. And just as he was refining pills, the City Lord also sent him a batch of Battle Chi pills medicinal ingredients, which amounted to more than 1,000,000 sets. And during this period of time, he had been working hard enough. After using up all his mental energy, he would rest, and after resting, he would immediately continue. So far, he had already refined more than 400,000 pills. On the day before the Pill Tower's official examination, Qin Feiyong finally stopped, his expression rather haggard. However, when he looked at the universe bag beside him, his face was full of smiles. In these 4 months, he had refined a total of more than 500,000 Battle Chi pills, and all of them had 4 pill patterns, which was enough for everyone to use for a long time. It had already been 7 months since they entered the Forgotten Continent. In these 7 months, everyone's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Wolf King and Fatso had both stepped into the 5-star War Master. The Pangolin had also broken through to the 3-star War Master. Lu Hong, under her continuous efforts, had finally stepped into the War Master realm. As for the Black Dragon Snake, who had destroyed his own cultivation, after opening the door of potential, his speed was astonishingly fast. Now, he had already recovered the cultivation of a 5-star martial ancestor. He believed that it wouldn't be long before he could step into the War King realm. Seeing that Qin Feiyong had stopped refining pills, Fatso also opened his eyes and asked, "Boss, what if there's no news of Mu Qing? Then we'll go deeper into the Forgotten Continent." Qin Feiyong said without hesitation, "All right, Fat Lord, continue to cultivate. I'll definitely surpass you." Fatso chuckled, then closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. "Surpass me?" Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. Honestly speaking, he was quite envious of Fatso and the others. They didn't need to care about anything, they just needed to cultivate. As for him, he felt that he had too many things to do. Just like this time. If it wasn't for the fact that he had been refining Battle Chi pills for the past 4 months, he would have already imitated the 4th stroke of the kill formula. His cultivation had already stepped into the 6-star War Master. However, there was nothing he could do. Who asked him to be the leader of this small team? As a leader, he had to shoulder this responsibility. Shua. After calming himself down, Qin Feiyong left the castle and took out the image crystal. Not long later, the image of the City Lord appeared. Qin Feiyong said, "I'll give you a mission. Master, please speak." The City Lord said respectfully, "Mu Qing is a very smart person. He should have guessed that I would be waiting for him in Sky Thunder City. So, if he comes to participate in the Pill Pagoda's examination this time, he might change his appearance." Qin Feiyong said. The City Lord thought for a moment, then said, "Master, you mean to thoroughly investigate everyone who came to participate in the examination this time? Not bad. You've become smarter. Yes, we can't let anyone go. If there are any suspicious people, you must record them and report to me when the time comes." Qin Feiyong said. "All right, this subordinate will do it now." The City Lord nodded respectfully, and the image disappeared. Qin Feiyong put away the image crystal and looked at the sky, his eyes flickering. He had a premonition. Chapter 749. The opening of the Pil Pagoda's examination caused the deserted Sky Thunder City to once again become incomparably lively. Regardless of whether it was inside or outside the city, there was a sea of people. Spring Rain Restaurant. At this moment, it was also packed with people and was bustling with noise. In a corner, a white-clothed youth sat alone at a dining table, silently drinking wine. This person was Qin Feiyang. After leaving the glacier forest, he came directly here. Of course, he had also changed his appearance and concealed his cultivation. And coming to the Spring Rain Restaurant, he was purely here to try his luck. But it was clear that his luck was not good. He sat here until dark, but there was still no news of Mu Qing. Evening, he stood up, paid the bill and left, and directly appeared in the city lord's mansion. In a great hall, Qin Feiyang sat on the main seat, while the city lord stood respectfully beside him. In the entire hall, other than them, there was no one else. Speak. Qin Feiyang drank a mouthful of tea and looked at the city lord. The city lord said, "This subordinate has checked all the participants of the examination, and there are basically no problems." Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, "Have you checked them all?" "No. The time is too short. There's no way to check them one by one." The city lord shook his head. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "Is there really not a single suspicious person?" "I haven't found anything yet. How about this? I'll send someone to check it out later and try to finish checking them one by one before dawn." The city lord asked carefully. "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded, his brows relaxed, and said with a faint smile, "As long as you can do this well, I will definitely reward you heavily." "Thank you, master." The city lord immediately bowed and thanked him. However, in his heart, he didn't mind. After being in charge of the Heaven Thunder City for so many years, what kind of treasure had he not seen before? He did not believe that Qin Feiyang could take out anything that could move his heart. But suddenly, he stared at Qin Feiyang. His eyes filled with bewilderment and said, "Master, why is the aura you're emitting a little different from before?" "I have already stepped into the 5-star War Master. Of course it's different from before." Qin Feiyang said lightly. "What? Another breakthrough?" The city lord was dumbfounded, his face full of shock. A moment later, he gulped and asked, "Master, can you tell me how you did it?" "I'll tell you when you're done with this." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and flashed into the castle to copy the 4th stroke of the kill formula. Outside, the city lord was both surprised and excited. What surprised him was, how did Qin Feiyang do it? What made him excited was that if he could master this method, wouldn't his speed be the same as Qin Feiyang's? Just thinking about it made his blood boil. You must serve him well. He clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with determination. In the past, he had been forced into a corner, but now he was following Qin Feiyang wholeheartedly. Time flew by and dawn was about to arrive. The city lord hurriedly ran into the main hall and shouted, "Master, there's news." He had been running outside all night. He didn't know how many places he had been to, but he wasn't tired at all. Shua. Before he could finish, Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air and looked at the city lord expectantly. "Speak." This subordinate found out that there is a very suspicious person. This person is called Tang Hai. According to our investigation yesterday, he is from the Tang tribe. The city lord said. Tang tribe? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The Tang tribe is just a small tribe. Its location is very remote, and not many people know about it. But that's where the problem lies. Not long ago, this subordinate personally went to the Tang tribe, and guess what? There was no such person as Tang Hai. The city lord said. Qin Feiyang also became spirited. This subordinate guesses that this person must have changed his appearance, and like master, he knows the coordinates of the city and escaped the pursuit of the Heaven's Eye Stone at the city gate. The city lord said again. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and asked, "What does this Tang Hai look like?" The city lord waved his hand, and a figure quickly appeared in the void. It was a young man wearing a leopard skin, about 20 years old. He was very short and thin, and looked a little weak. Qin Feiyang looked at the young man's figure and asked, "What is his cultivation level?" The city lord said, According to this subordinate's investigation, he is only a 9-star battle king. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, and a cold light flashed in his eyes and said, "Well, let's target this person." The city lord nodded and asked, "The assessment is about to begin. Master, do you want to participate?" "There's no need for that. In alchemy, the pagoda master can't teach me anything," Qin Feiyang said lightly. In terms of cultivation, he couldn't compare to the pagoda master, but in terms of alchemy, he was not inferior to anyone. The city lord was stunned, and then the corners of his mouth pursed into a wry smile. Yes, level 20 mental strength was rare in the world. Who could compare to him? Furthermore, the pagoda master had once said that the master in front of him could refine pills with 5 Dan veins. What kind of concept was this? He was simply inhuman. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Oh right, how is the pagoda master's cultivation level?" "I think I've heard her say before that she was a 9-star war sect, but after a few years, I don't know if she has broken through to the war saint realm." The city lord thought for a moment and said, 9-star war sect." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. The last time he came to the Forgotten Continent, he was only at the War King's cultivation level. To him, an expert at the level of the War Master was like a god. But now, he had already stepped into the 5-star war sect, and if the pagoda master did not use any battle arts, he was confident that he could kill him with just the war and return. However, if the tower took the initiative to use a battle art, he could only escape. After all, there was a difference of 4 small realms between the two of them. "All right, I'll go to the pill tower first. If I make a move later, remember to put on an act and stop me," Qin Feiyang said. "Understood." The city lord nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, opening a transmission gate, then looked at the city lord and said, "Oh right, prepare some transmission gate for me." "All right," the city lord replied respectfully. Next, Qin Feiyang then turned and walked into the transmission gate, appearing in a dark alley. He then tidied up his state and walked out of the alley. Even though it was still dawn, the streets were already filled with a sea of people, and everyone was heading in the same direction. Pill Tower. Qin Feiyang mixed in with the crowd and soon arrived in front of a plaza. There were already many young people gathered in the plaza. They were all in their teens and 20s. These were all people who were going to participate in the examination. As for those who did not participate in the examination, they could only stand outside. Qin Feiyang swept his gaze across the crowd and realized that there were many familiar faces. These people had also participated in the previous assessment. This was because the Pill Tower did not stipulate that those who had participated in the previous assessment could not participate in the next assessment. Therefore, many people would come to the Pill Tower for the assessment. However, Qin Feiyang did not notice Tang Hai. Time passed by slowly. Just as the assessment was about to begin, a young man in leopard skin strode into the plaza. Qin Feiyang's gaze immediately locked onto this person. This person was thin and short. He looked to be in his 20s and his aura was that of a 9-star combat king. It was Tang Hai whom the city lord mentioned. Tang Hai entered the plaza and did not greet anyone. He stood alone in a corner. Qin Feiyang kept staring at him, hoping to find some clues from this person's expression or gaze. However, he discovered that this person's aura and gaze were completely different from Mu Qing's. Could it be that it was not him? Whoosh! Soon, 2 middle-aged men landed on the steps in front of the plaza. They were the city lord and the commander of the guards. As soon as the two of them arrived, the entire plaza fell silent. Let's cut to the chase. The first round of the willpower assessment will begin immediately. Those who can withstand the pressure of the commander of the guards without collapsing for 10 breaths will enter the next round of the assessment. Those who fail will be eliminated. As for those who are not here yet, they will be disqualified. After the city lord finished speaking, he nodded at the commander of the guards. Boom! The commander of the guards immediately released his aura and enveloped everyone in the plaza. In an instant, many people felt as if a towering mountain was pressing down on their heads. Their legs could not help but tremble. Their faces turned pale and beads of sweat the size of beans appeared. In less than 3 breaths, the people in the plaza fell down one by one. Their faces were filled with unwillingness. Qin Feiyang swept his gaze across the entire plaza and looked at Tang Hai again. His eyes suddenly had a trace of suspicion. Under the suppression of the commander of the guards, Tang Hai was also trembling. His forehead was also sweating profusely. However, Qin Feiyang did not find a trace of panic in his eyes. He was very calm. This was obviously not normal. This was because the commander of the guards had the cultivation of a 9-star combat emperor. Facing his aura, any 9-star combat king would instinctively feel afraid. Therefore, this person was becoming more and more suspicious. But he did not take action. He continued to observe. Very soon, after 10 breaths, there were only about 1,000 people left in the plaza. Next, it was the second round of the assessment of mental strength. Qin Feiyang looked at Tang Hai. If he remembered correctly, Mu Qing had a level 13 mental strength. If the mental strength matched, then this Tang Hai was very likely to be Mu Qing. Not long after, it was Tang Hai's turn to test his mental strength. Buzz! The mental strength stone trembled again and again. The light emitted also became brighter and brighter. But in the end, the mental strength stone only trembled 12 times. In other words, this Tang Hai had a level 12 mental strength. Is it really not him? Qin Feiyang frowned, and Tang Hai's level 12 mental strength also caused a sensation at the scene. The city lord and the commander of the guards even praised him a few times. Tang Hai also appeared to be flattered. I'm not waiting anymore, Qin Feiyang muttered. If he continued to wait like this, there would be no result at all. He might as well directly force Tang Hai to reveal his true form. He secretly took out a facial restoration pill and held it in his hand. Next, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Whiz! In the next moment, he used the phantom steps and rushed towards Tang Hai like a ghost. One had to know. Right now, he was a 5-star war master. With the addition of the perfect support technique, his speed was comparable to a 9-star war master. Before the people present could react, he had already landed in front of Tang Hai. Tang Hai looked at the person who suddenly appeared in front of him and was instinctively stunned. But then... Chapter 750. Qin Feiyang clearly caught this trace of panic. He felt a chill in his heart. This person was really getting more and more suspicious. Swish! Without hesitation, he raised his arm and stuffed the face-restoring pill into Tang Hai's mouth. Bastard! Tang Hai couldn't help but shout. At the same time, his appearance was also changing rapidly. Finally, a familiar face appeared in Qin Feiyang's line of sight. Who else could it be but Mu Qing? It's really you. Qin Feiyang sneered. Mu Qing frowned and said, I even disguised my temperament and eyes. Why do you still suspect me? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and said, You know who I am? He knew. Now he was still disguised. Why didn't Mu Qing doubt him at all? Mu Qing said, I already recognized you when I entered the square. How on earth did you do it? Qin Feiyang frowned. No matter where he was, no matter what he disguised himself as, this person could recognize him at a glance. Wasn't it too ridiculous? At this time, the others around also came to their senses and looked at Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing in surprise. Mu Qing looked around and gloomily looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, How did I do it? I have no comment. Qin Feiyang joked, Why are you looking at me like that? Did I ruin something good for you? Mu Qing's face turned cold. At this time, the city lord looked at Mu Qing and frowned. If you want to take the test, then take the test. Why do you have to hide? It has nothing to do with you, Mu Qing said expressionlessly. The city lord frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, Who are you? Him? Mu Qing smiled coldly and said, He's that monstrous alchemist whose name shook the world back then, Qin Feiyang. What? Everyone's eyes widened, staring at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He took out a facial restoring pill and popped it into his mouth. Soon, he regained his true appearance. It's really Qin Feiyang. He's back. The place immediately fell into an uproar. Mu Qing's lips curled into a playful smile. She looked at Qin Feiyang indifferently and said, Now let's see how you're going to deal with the aftermath. Really? Then I'll kill you first, and then I'll deal with the rest. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. His hidden aura suddenly erupted, shocking everyone present. What? 5-star war sect. Mu Qing's pupils contracted. Qin Feiyang, you still dare to come back? The city lord also pretended to be shocked. Then, with a cold shout, his aura suddenly erupted and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. A mere 2-star war sect dares to be arrogant in front of me? Qin Feiyang laughed in disdain, and suddenly took a step forward, causing the entire plaza to tremble violently. Following closely, he raised his arm and slapped the city lord's chest with his palm. Puff! The city lord was sent flying like a meteor, crashing into the stairs behind him. How is this possible? He's actually so strong? The city lord looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. His pale face was like the face of a dead man. Ugh! Qin Feiyang was stunned. Wasn't this acting too similar? That palm strike just now didn't even have half of his strength. Yet he had actually fainted? He really didn't expect this person to be so talented in acting. City Lord, the guard commander roared. Looking at the severely injured and unconscious City Lord, he also angrily rushed towards Qin Feiyang. So many people are not afraid of death? Qin Feiyang frowned and pointed his index finger in the air. Whoosh! A crimson sword chi shot out and instantly pierced through the guard commander's chest. At that moment, the guard commander's head tilted, and he fell to the ground with a bang. However, he didn't hurt the guard commander's life, but only seriously injured him and made him unconscious. This is my eyesight failing me? The guard commander and the city lord can't even defeat him? When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel a storm in their hearts. In just a few years, Qin Feiyang's strength had actually become so terrifying. Suddenly, there was a round of applause. Mu Qing clapped his hands and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. Brother Qin, you're really good. You can still laugh now. Aren't you afraid that I'll really kill you? Qin Feiyang put down his arm and turned to look at Mu Qing, his eyes flashing with cold light. I naturally know Brother Qin's temper. If you say you'll kill me, you'll definitely kill me. But today, I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Mu Qing crossed his arms in front of his chest and made a solemn vow. Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted, and he glanced at the crowd around him. If it was someone else who said this, he wouldn't care about it. But since it was Mu Qing who said it, he couldn't be careless. Because with Mu Qing's background, anything could happen. And the biggest possibility was that Mu Qing's accomplices were lurking in the crowd. Suddenly, he fixed his eyes on 2 old men in the crowd on the left. These 2 people looked very old. Their hair was mottled with white, and they were emaciated as if they were about to die. They didn't have the slightest aura, just like 2 mortals. But because of this, it was more suspicious. Because in Sky Thunder City, it was impossible for ordinary people to exist. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he raised his hand and pointed. A red sword chi surged out like a huge wave, covering the sky and covering the earth as it pounced towards the 2 people. Seeing this, the 2 old men looked at each other. Not only were they not nervous at all, but there was also a faint smile on their wrinkled old faces. There is indeed something wrong. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Boom. But at this moment, a terrifying pressure descended, and everyone present was imprisoned in the void. Whoosh! Then, a graceful woman in a long white dress appeared out of thin air above the square. She was wearing an exquisite mask, but it didn't affect her charm, because she had a pair of beautiful sky-blue eyes that were like the clear sky, making people feel comfortable. It wasn't hard to imagine that under that mask, there must be a peerless face. That's right. This person was the Tower Master of the Pill Pagoda. As soon as the Tower Master appeared, she raised her arm and pointed her slender finger in the air. Boom! Suddenly, with a loud bang, an invisible force descended from the sky and instantly disintegrated Qin Feiyang's red sword chi. Puff! Qin Feiyang's face turned pale and blood gushed out of his mouth. So powerful! His pupils constricted, and there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Tower Master! The next moment, everyone present prostrated themselves on the ground and bowed respectfully, as if they were on a pilgrimage. From this, it could be seen how much prestige the Pagoda Master had in this area. However, Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing did not kneel. However, the strange thing was that the two old men that Qin Feiyang had noticed before were also kneeling on the ground in worship. This made Qin Feiyang very puzzled. Could it be that the two of them were faking it? But thinking about it, it was impossible. Because with his cultivation, the red sword chi from before was enough to instantly kill all living beings below the 5-star war master level. Therefore, it was impossible for ordinary people without cultivation to be so calm, let alone have a trace of a smile on their faces. But why was that? What were these two old men planning? Just as Qin Feiyang was deep in thought, the pagoda master's pleasant voice rang out. Qin Feiyang, Mu Qing, kneel. Although the voice was pleasant to hear, it carried a bone-piercing coldness. On what basis? Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing raised their brows and looked at the pagoda master at the same time. The pill tower looked at the two of them coldly. Suddenly, she turned her gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, "Back then, you plundered the treasure trove and pill fire of the 3 great tribes. Your crimes are unforgivable." Finished. She then looked at Mu Qing and said, "And you, attempting to snatch the heavenly thunder flames, you also deserve to die 1,000 times." What? Qin Feiyang's expression froze. The last time Mu Qing snuck into the pill tower, it was also for the heavenly thunder flames? But why wasn't anyone discussing such a big matter in Heaven Thunder City? Qin Feiyang frowned, looked at the city lord lying on the ground, and sent a sound transmission. "Do you know about this?" The city lord wasn't really unconscious. He was pretending to be unconscious. Hearing Qin Feiyang's sound transmission, he secretly replied, "This subordinate does not know. I have never heard the pagoda master mention it." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. It seemed that only the pagoda master knew about this. And Mu Qing came here in disguise this time. Guarding against him should be secondary. The most important thing was to guard against the pagoda master. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang lifted the corner of his mouth, turned to look at Mu Qing and laughed. "I didn't expect to really ruin your good deed. I'm really sorry." Mu Qing raised his eyebrows and snorted. "Don't make sarcastic remarks there. I'm sincerely apologizing to you. Why don't you appreciate it? But there's one thing that puzzles me. With your family background, the 6th grade pill fire shouldn't be a rare thing, right? But why did you deliberately come to snatch the heavenly thunder flames?" Qin Feiyang said. "He even had a treasure like the gate of time and space, let alone a 6th grade pill fire?" Mu Qing said in a deep voice. "This has nothing to do with you. Mind your own business. I don't want to care either. But you brought me here. Of course I can't sit back and do nothing." Qin Feiyang grinned. "What are they talking about? Why can't I understand it all?" The surrounding people looked at each other, their faces full of suspicion. And Mu Qing, looking at the smile on Qin Feiyang's face, was so angry that he was about to go crazy. He couldn't wait to slap him. The pagoda master, who was standing above, looked colder and colder. These two little bastards actually treated her as heir? "Have you said enough?" She looked at the two coldly and said word by word. Mu Qing raised his eyebrows and said impatiently, "Who allowed you to speak? Can you get lost?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Mu Qing's family background was indeed a bit scary, but now they were in Sky Thunder City. Wasn't this attitude a bit too arrogant? Sure enough, the pagoda master was angry. That pair of beautiful sky blue eyes revealed a shocking light. "Say it one more time." Her aura was firmly locked on Mu Qing. Her whole body was filled with a bone-piercing cold current. Whoosh! Mu Qing suddenly looked up at the pagoda master, full of contempt between her eyebrows. "I want to say it one more time. What do you dare to do to me?" "Good, very good." The pagoda master smiled. However, her exquisite body was trembling slightly. It was obvious that she was furious to the extreme. "Why, looking at you, you still want to kill me?" However, Mu Qing became more and more arrogant. She didn't take the pagoda master seriously at all. Boom! Chapter 751. Humph! Just as the pagoda master was about to attack, Mu Qing snorted through her nose. But she did not dodge. She did not counterattack. Something's not right. Qin Feiyang, who was next to her, suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of uneasiness as he looked at the two of them. But what was it that made him feel uneasy? He could not figure it out. He had a feeling that it was not so simple. I have a good temper, but it doesn't mean that I won't kill. The pagoda master's eyes flashed with murderous intent. In the blink of an eye, she landed on top of Mu Qing. Her jade-like hand shot out and slapped toward Mu Qing's head. What's wrong? The uneasiness in Qin Feiyang's heart grew stronger. Suddenly, his pupils shrank, because he sensed that two auras were quietly awakening in this place. Who are they? He glanced at the crowd around him in surprise. All of a sudden, he locked his gaze on the two old men. At the same time, the two old men also looked at Qin Feiyang. A smile appeared on their old faces again. Not good. This is a killing trap. Qin Feiyang suddenly quivered and hurriedly shouted, "Pagoda Master, be careful." The pagoda master looked at him suspiciously. But just as Qin Feiyang spoke, the two old men suddenly got up and then swooped down toward the pagoda master. Their aura also suddenly erupted at this moment. This aura was very powerful. It was like a torrent of beasts, rolling in all directions. The surrounding crowd was all sent flying in an instant. Blood spurted out and wails could be heard everywhere. Moreover, the two of them were extremely fast. Even with Qin Feiyang's eyesight, he could not catch their tracks. The pagoda master also looked at the two old men immediately. Her beautiful eyes were full of surprise and suspicion. Obviously, she did not notice that there were two such terrifying powerhouses hidden in the crowd before. She made a prompt decision. She gave up on the idea of killing Mu Qing. She retracted her arm and turned into a stream of light, retreating rapidly. Almost as soon as she retreated, the two old men rushed in front of Mu Qing and punched her. However, because the tower master had retreated in time, their punches missed. Seeing that the attack had failed, Mu Qing immediately turned her head and glared at Qin Feiyang angrily. "I'm sorry. I was careless and ruined your plans again. I guess I was born to be a shit stirrer," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Mu Qing clenched her fists. She was so angry that smoke came out of the top of her head. Previously, he had been provoking the pagoda master all this time in order to infuriate her and make her lose her rationality, giving the two old men an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. This plan was originally foolproof and would definitely succeed. But he never expected that Qin Feiyang would see through it. Why was this bastard so difficult to deal with? In the meantime, the tower master, who had retreated far away, secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Immediately, she glanced at the two old men and then looked at Qin Feiyang. Her gaze softened a lot, and she transmitted her voice, "Thank you." If it weren't for Qin Feiyang's reminder, facing the sudden attack of the two old men, she would definitely be in danger. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. "As long as you don't bite the hand that feeds you." The pagoda master took a deep look at Qin Feiyang. She really couldn't understand. What was the relationship between Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing? Then, her gaze turned and fell on Mu Qing and the other two. She said in a deep voice, "Who are you?" "It doesn't matter who we are." Mu Qing also looked away from Qin Feiyang and looked at the pagoda master. She said lightly, "What's important is that the heavenly thunder flame is mine today. I'm afraid you don't have the strength." The pagoda master smiled coldly. "Is that so?" Mu Qing's eyes flashed coldly. She waved her hand and said, "Kill her." Whiz! The two old men standing beside him immediately displayed a mysterious footwork and rushed towards the pagoda master. 2-9 Star Wars sect. The pagoda master scanned the two of them with a trace of disdain in her eyes. Schwa. The next moment, she took a step forward. Instead of retreating, she advanced and charged straight towards the two old men. The three of them were very fast. In the blink of an eye, they collided with each other. Boom! A destructive wave of air surged out in all directions like a tide with the three of them as the center. Seeing this, everyone present was terrified and fled in all directions, including Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing. The city lord could no longer pretend. He got up and hugged the guard commander as he fled with all his might. An expert at the level of the 9-Star Wars sect could destroy half of the Heaven Thunder City with a wave of his hand. Not to mention the battle between the 3 9-Star Wars sect Staying behind would only result in death. Boom. Kacha. In less than 5 breaths of time, half of the Heaven Thunder City was razed to the ground. And it was still spreading. Dust and smoke covered the sky and covered the sun. The rumbling sound was deafening. Countless people were affected and their blood dyed the ground red. As for those who managed to escape, they were all dripping with blood. However, Qin Feiyang, Mu Qing, and the city lord didn't suffer much damage. After all, they were all war sects and had mastered auxiliary battle arts. Their escape speed was faster than the others. As for the others, the highest cultivation was the war emperor, and the lowest was the martial sect. Martial master naturally couldn't escape in time. To hurt so many innocent people, you all deserve to die. Seeing this scene, a trace of astonishing hostility crawled up from the pagoda master's sky-blue eyes. Don't make it sound so dignified. If you were willing to hand over the heavenly thunder flames, would they die? The 2 old men smiled coldly, twisting words and forcing logic. Today, I will bury all of you with them. The pagoda master let out a stern shout, and an aura that was even stronger than before rushed out from his body. Moreover, within this aura, there was also a shocking holy might that intimidated the hearts of countless people. What? You've already broken through to the War Saint realm? The 2 old men's eyes widened in anger. That's right. A year ago, I had already stepped into the War Saint realm. The pagoda master's aura was like a rainbow as her jade-like hands shot out explosively. The terrifying holy might transformed into 2 invisible giant hands that grabbed towards the 2 old men. The air seemed to be on the verge of exploding as it crazily distorted. As for the 2 old men, they were imprisoned in the air, unable to move at all. War Saint. In the air outside the city, Qin Feiyang looked at the pagoda master with a trace of astonishment in his eyes. Were the methods of the War Saint so terrifying? Not far away. When the city lord saw this scene, his pupils also constricted. Those 2 old men were both 9-star War sects and were only 1 small realm away from the War Saint. However, when the pagoda master displayed his full strength, the 2 of them actually didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Wasn't the difference between the War Sect and the War Saint too great? Master, the pagoda master's strength after breaking through to the War Saint realm is too terrifying. This subordinate advises you to give up on snatching the heavenly thunder flame. He glanced at Qin Feiyang without leaving a trace and sent a sound transmission to Qin Feiyang. I know. Qin Feiyang secretly replied and turned his head to look at Mu Qing on the other side. No. Immediately, his gaze trembled. The pagoda master had displayed such terrifying strength, but Mu Qing's face didn't show the slightest bit of panic. Could it be that this guy was still hiding some trump card? War Saint? Is it that great? Just as Qin Feiyang was bewildered, 2 old voices entered his ears. There was a deep sense of disdain in his words. And Qin Feiyang immediately looked towards the source of the voice. In the end, he was shocked to find that the people who spoke were the 2 old men who were imprisoned in the air by the pagoda master. Could it be, in his mind, a terrifying thought suddenly crawled up? Boom. In the next moment, the auras of the 2 old men also rapidly soared. Their white hair fluttered in the wind. Their clothes fluttered, as if 2 kings had descended to the world, their auras shaking the heavens. In the blink of an eye, the aura of the 2 had broken through the 9-star War Master and stepped into the ranks of the War Saint. As expected, Qin Feiyang's face changed greatly. The 2 of them had also concealed their cultivation before. On the surface, they were 9-star War Master, but in reality, they were both War Saints. These people had hidden themselves really well. The city lord's face was also deathly pale as he roared. Everyone, quickly continue to retreat. The further the better. His roar shook the heavens and spread in all directions. With the battle between the 3 War Saints, the Sky Thunder City would definitely not be able to hold on. Even the mountains and rivers around the Sky Thunder City would probably be affected. Upon hearing the city lord's roar, those who had already escaped the city, as well as those who had yet to escape, all gathered their strength and frantically fled. At the same time, The city lord looked at the pagoda master and roared, "Hurry up and move the battlefield. Don't hurt any more innocent people." When the pagoda master heard this, he scanned the crowd that was fleeing in fear, and his gaze immediately darkened. Whiz! Following closely, she leaped into the air and flew towards the sky like lightning. "Come down for this old man." However, the two old men didn't give her the chance. At the same time, their holy might swept through the sky and forcefully pulled the pagoda master down. "Damn it! You did it on purpose." The pagoda master was both shocked and furious. "Yes, we did it on purpose. If you don't want to implicate those innocent people, hand over the heavenly thunder flames immediately." The two old men laughed sinisterly, revealing a ruthless and cold expression. "Impossible." The pagoda master gritted his teeth and said word by word, leaving no room for negotiation. "Then let's begin." The two old men smiled sinisterly and took a step forward. Like ghosts, they instantly appeared on the left and right sides of the pagoda master. Previous chapter. Next chapter then. The two of them raised their hands at the same time. Battle chi surged out like a tide as they punched towards the pagoda master. However, the pagoda master did not meet them head-on and chose to retreat. This was because once they fought, battle fluctuations would be born. And when the war saints fought, the battle fluctuations that were born were enough to instantly destroy the entire Sky Thunder City. So, she wanted to buy time for those who had yet to escape the city. "You want to protect them?" The two old men's punches missed and their old faces were filled with shocking killing intent. One of the old men suddenly turned around and raised his hand. A surge of battle chi surged out and turned into a terrifying wave that rushed towards the crowd in the distance. This was forcing the pagoda master to meet them head-on. "Bastard! Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens?" The pagoda master was so angry that her delicate body could not help but tremble. "They all died because of you. The one who should be punished by the heavens is you." The two old men smiled coldly. "Despicable." The pagoda master angrily rebuked and hurriedly chased after the battle chi. As for the two old men, they did not stop her. Their eyes flashed with a sinister look. In a few blinks of an eye, the pagoda master stood in front of the battle chi. She raised her jade-like hand and slapped it without hesitation. With a loud bang, the battle chi was directly scattered. However, as soon as they exchanged blows, a destructive wave of air was born, surging out in all directions with an earth-shattering momentum. Boom! Crack! Following a series of deafening explosions, the Sky Thunder City, which was already in tatters, instantly disappeared from the ground. Those who had yet to escape from Sky Thunder City were all drowned by this wave of air and died tragically on the spot. As for those who had already escaped from Sky Thunder City, they were all gathered in the distance. Looking at the Sky Thunder City that had already turned into ruins, their eyes were filled with sorrow. One had to know, there were originally many residents in Sky Thunder City, and today was the day of the Pill Pagoda's assessment. The number of people was several times more than usual. However, in just a short while, more than half of the people were dead or injured. Chapter 752. Even with Qin Feiyang's temperament, he could not help but feel sad when he saw this scene. Fortunately, the pagoda master made a move to disperse the battle aura. Otherwise, those who had already escaped from Sky Thunder City would also be bloodied on the spot. The methods of these two old things were truly extremely vicious. "So many people have already died tragically in your hands. Shouldn't you stop now?" The pagoda master looked at the two old men coldly. Sigh. One of the old men sighed deeply and said, "They are still unwilling to hand over the Sky Thunder Flame. It seems that we can only snatch it by force." Boom. After saying that, the two old men stepped out. Their white hair fluttered in the wind, and their sharp gazes were like blades. Whoosh! The pagoda master glanced at the two of them and suddenly leaped into the sky. This time, the two old men did not stop him and also leaped into the sky. Bang, bang, bang. Boom. Immediately, the battle between the three of them unfolded in the sky. The void within a few hundred miles was instantly distorted. Waves of terrifying battle fluctuations surged in all directions. Qin Feiyang observed carefully for a while. He discovered that the cultivation of the three of them should be one-star battle saints. However, facing two battle saints, the pagoda master was somewhat powerless. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted, and he lowered his head to look at the Pill Pagoda below. The entire Sky Thunder City had been destroyed. Only the Pill Pagoda was still sitting in the ruins unscathed. Wasn't this too unbelievable? One had to know, this was a battle between three battle saints. The strength of a battle saint could easily destroy mountains and rivers. How could the Pill Pagoda withstand such an attack? Could it be that this Pill Pagoda was a sacred artifact? Just as Qin Feiyang was bewildered, the pagoda master was unable to dodge the indiscriminate attacks of the two old men. One of the old men punched his lower abdomen, and he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Oh no! The pagoda master's expression changed. He hurriedly waved his hand, wanting to wipe off the blood. This was because her blood could open the stone door of the Pill Pagoda. If the two old men obtained it, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, at the same time, the two old men smiled coldly. One of them stepped forward and slapped the pagoda master. The other person waved his hand, and the blood turned into a stream of light, shooting towards Mu Qing. I finally got it. Looking at the blood, Mu Qing muttered to herself with a happy smile on her face. Whoosh! But at the same time, Qin Feiyang also abruptly raised his head and looked at the pool of blood. Following closely, he used the phantom steps, and like a bolt of lightning, he tore through the sky and rushed towards the blood. With Chang Shui in his hands, he didn't need the Tower Master's blood to enter the Pill Pagoda. The reason why she wanted to snatch the blood was purely to foil Mu Qing's scheme. Seeing this, Mu Qing immediately raised his eyebrows and said, Brother Qin, do you have to go against me? What do you think? Qin Feiyang turned around and sneered. Alas, you're forcing me to attack you. Mu Qing let out a long sigh and shouted, Stop him and snatch the blood. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Who was Mu Qing talking to? The two old men? But the two old men were firmly entangled by the pagoda master and had no time to spare. Boom! But suddenly, in the ruins below, a powerful aura suddenly erupted. What? There are more people? Qin Feiyang immediately lowered his head and scanned the area below. Whoosh! Immediately. Then, he saw numerous black shadows flying out of the ruins. These people were all middle-aged burly men in black robes, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. The aura they exuded was extremely powerful. Are they also your men? Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing in surprise and doubt. That's right. Mu Qing nodded and smiled. Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened slightly, and he sneered. You really put in a lot of effort for the flame of heavenly thunder. You flatter me. Mu Qing waved his hand in shame, but his face was filled with pride. He looked at the big-sized men and said, Don't hurt him, as long as we get the blood. Yes. The big-sized men respectfully replied and then spread out, surrounding Qin Feiyang. One of the burly men with a scar on his face directly rushed towards the blood. Qin Feiyang, please, you must stop them. At this time, the pagoda master's voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at the pagoda master, then immediately retracted his gaze and scanned the surrounding big-sized men. For a moment, his heart was heavy, because, including the scarred man who was rushing towards the blood, there were a total of 10 people. And amongst these 10 people, the scarred man was the strongest. 9 Star Wars sect. The remaining 9 people, based on their auras, were all 8 Star Wars sect S. This kind of lineup was not something he could contend against. But it wasn't like there was no other way. As long as he could launch a surprise attack in advance without any warning, he would definitely be able to catch the 9 of them off guard. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he said with a faint smile, 9-8 Star Wars Sect S surrounding me. You guys really think highly of me. On the surface, these words were said to the 9 big men, but in reality, they were said to Fatso and Wolf King who were inside the castle. Because now, only Fatso and Wolf King could help him. However, Because the 9 of them were too close to him, he couldn't directly ask Wolf King and Fatso to prepare for battle, so he could only use this method to hint at them. He also believed that with Wolf King and Fatso's understanding of him, they would be able to understand. When the 9 of them heard Qin Feiyang's words, they did not answer Qin Feiyang. Their auras firmly locked onto him. Not talking. Then let me tell you, you might die later. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. The 9 of them remained silent, but a hint of disdain crawled up from their eyes. Qin Feiyang swept his gaze across the 9 of them and shook his head in disappointment. I originally wanted to scare you guys, but it seems like it didn't work. The disdain in the eyes of the 9 grew even stronger. Do you really think I'm scaring you? Qin Feiyang secretly sneered. He looked at Mu Qing in the distance, and a cold light suddenly erupted from his eyes. Boom! With a thought, Fatso and Wolf King immediately appeared out of thin air. Moreover, as soon as they came out, they were in a state of transformation. Wolf King activated Berserker's Fury and transformed into a 2-meter-tall muscular wolf, his ferocious might unparalleled. Fatso also activated the Dragon Transformation Art and transformed into a dragon warrior. The aura he emitted was comparable to that of a 9-Star Wars sect. Obviously, they had understood Qin Feiyang's hint and had already activated their transformation state inside the castle. In the blink of an eye, as soon as Wolf King and Fatso appeared, they immediately activated their auxiliary battle arts and rushed toward the 9 burly men. Their eyes flickered with shocking killing intent. Whether it was Mu Qing or the 9 burly men, none of them were able to react to this sudden turn of events. Boom! Fatso punched out with both fists, sending the 2 burly men flying. Their blood splattered across the sky. Wolf King was even more violent. It used the void escape steps and rushed in front of the 2 burly men. Its strong and powerful claws slashed out. Following a shrill cry, the 2 men's heads were directly smashed into pieces, and they died on the spot. And at the same time, Qin Feiyang also made his move, showing no mercy. The 4th move of the void returning art blasted out, instantly killing 2 people. In just half a blink of an eye, they had killed 6 people. But it wasn't over yet. The 2 men and the wolf did not stop at all. They focused their attacks on the remaining 3 men. There was no suspense. Without any preparation, under such a sudden attack, the 3 of them died on the spot. Let's go. After killing 9 people, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and immediately led Wolf King and Fatso towards the scarred man. What's going on? The city lord, who was standing in the distant void, and the crowd gathered outside the city, had their eyes about to pop out. One had to know. The 9 people on the other side were all genuine 8-Star Wars Sect S. 9 great 8-Star Wars sects, such a terrifying lineup, could be said to be invincible in this area of Sky Thunder City. But they never would have thought that they would be annihilated by Qin Feiyang's group so effortlessly. These guys were too terrifying. Looking at the figures of the 2 men and 1 wolf, everyone's faces were filled with reverence and worship. People should be like them, vigorous and vigorous. At the same time, Mu Qing finally came back to his senses. He did not doubt the methods of Qin Feiyang and the others. This was because he understood the strength of the 2 men and 1 wolf very well. They had all grasped perfect battle arts. Coupled with the ruthlessness in their bodies, it wasn't strange for them to be able to do such a feat. But there was one thing that he had never expected. That was, Wolf King and Fatso's cultivation had actually broken through to 5-Star Wars sect? Were these 3 bastards the reincarnation of perverts? At the same time, the scarred man also turned to look at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King. He was also rather shocked by the methods of the 2 men and 1 wolf. But very quickly, a trace of contempt crawled up his eyes. The reason why he was able to kill those 9 people in an instant was because it happened too suddenly. And now, he was prepared. In addition, his strength was stronger than those 9 people. To want to kill him was simply a pipe dream. You guys are very powerful, but in front of me, you're nothing. He sneered, turned around, and continued to rush towards the blood. What are you being arrogant for? If you have the guts, come and fight me one-on-one. Wolf King bellowed. But the scarred man did not pay any attention to it. Fatso frowned and said in a low voice, "Boss, his speed is too fast. I'm afraid we won't be able to catch up." Qin Feiyang's gaze darkened and said, "If you can't catch up, then go to the entrance of the Pill Pagoda and block it." "Good idea." Fatso and Wolf King's eyes lit up. Whiz! Two men and a wolf swooped down and landed in front of the Pill Pagoda's door, coldly looking at the scarred man. The heavenly thunder flame was inside the Pill Pagoda, and there was only one entrance to the Pill Pagoda. As long as they blocked this place, even if the scarred man obtained the blood of the pagoda master, he would not be able to enter. Whiz! Finally, the scarred man grabbed the blood, took out a jade bottle, and stored it inside. Next, he lowered his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and Wolf King, a cold light flashing in his eyes. "Qin Feiyang, the heavenly thunder flame must not be snatched away by them. Please, you must stop him." When the pagoda master saw that the scarred man had successfully obtained the blood, a trace of panic appeared on his face, and he secretly transmitted his voice to Qin Feiyang. "So nervous?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and secretly said, "Tell me, what exactly is so special about the heavenly thunder flame?" The heavenly thunder flame was only a 6th grade pill fire, but it made Mu Qing go through so much trouble to snatch it. Chapter 753. It's a long story. I can't tell you everything right now, but I can tell you one thing. Once the heavenly thunder flames are taken away by them, the Forgotten Continent will definitely be in chaos. The Pill Tower sent a sound transmission, worried. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered and said, "All right, I will try my best to stop him, but you have to stall those two old things." Frankly speaking, he wasn't too confident. After all, the scarred man was a 9-star war sect, and might even have a perfect battle art. "Thank you. I will definitely hold them back." The pagoda master looked at Qin Feiyang gratefully, and continued to pester the two old men. Just as Qin Feiyang and the pagoda master were secretly communicating, the scarred man also turned his head to look at Mu Qing, as if asking for Mu Qing's opinion. Mu Qing frowned. He lowered his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two, his expression uncertain. Suddenly, he raised his head and nodded to the scarred man. A cold smile crawled up the scarred man's face. "Black Demon Hand." The next moment, with a cold shout, his large hand shot out explosively. A burst of black battle chi appeared, transforming into a giant hand that covered the sky, emitting a world-destroying aura. Then, with a wave of his arm, the giant hand suddenly swooped down, slapping towards Qin Feiyang and the other two. Qin Feiyang looked at the giant hand in shock. His expression suddenly changed, and he shouted, "This is a perfect battle art. Quickly retreat." "Damn it! How are we supposed to fight a perfect battle art?" Fatso and Wolf King were furious. Without daring to hesitate, the two of them and the wolf turned into a ray of light and fled into the sky like lightning. Boom! Just as they left, the black demon hand slapped the top of the pill tower, causing an earth-shaking explosion. A destructive wave immediately appeared, rolling out in all directions like an invisible wave. Although Qin Feiyang and the other two had escaped in time, they were still swept up by the shockwave and were sent flying, spitting out blood. Bang, bang, bang. Rumble. Crack. The three of them crashed into a mountain range outside the city one after another. The tall and majestic mountain range split apart on the spot and collapsed. "That's all you've got." The scar-faced man smiled disdainfully. Then, he rushed towards Qin Feiyang and the other two with a dense killing intent. But at this moment, Mu Qing shouted, "Don't worry about them. Hurry up and seize the heavenly thunder flame." The knife-scarred man suddenly stopped. He looked at the broken mountain range and sneered, "You're really far." Next, he swooped down and landed in front of the door of the Pill Pagoda. He took out a drop of blood and dripped it on the door. Rumble. The doors of the Pill Pagoda slowly opened. Seeing this, the pagoda master was extremely anxious. He used all his strength to push back the two old men. Then, he rushed towards the scarred man without looking back. Oomph! The two old men coldly snorted and chased after the pagoda master like lightning, punching him in the back. Bang! The pagoda master spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face instantly turned pale. Like a meteor, he crashed into the ground. "Let's see how you're going to stop us now." The two old men smiled sinisterly and landed in front of the pagoda door one after another. The pagoda door was already halfway open. One of them said to the knife-scarred man, "Quickly go in and snatch the heavenly thunder flame. We'll guard here." "Yes, sir," the knife-scarred man respectfully replied. Then, he turned into a ray of light and rushed into the pill pagoda. "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." At the same time, an enraged roar exploded. Wolf King, Fatso, and Qin Feiyang rushed out from the collapsed mountain range. Their bodies were dripping with blood. Wolf King was filled with ferocity as he immediately rushed towards the pill pagoda. However, Qin Feiyang grabbed it and whispered, "We're not their match. Don't be rash. You all deserve to die." At this time, the pagoda master also rushed out from the ground. His body was also riddled with wounds. He stood in the air and stared at the two old men coldly. "You're the one who's going to die." The two old men's eyes flashed with killing intent. They landed in front of the pagoda master and attacked with all their might. "Fighting soul, open." The pagoda master retreated quickly. A fiery red bird soared into the sky from behind him. It was a fire one. When it spread its wings, it was dozens of feet long. It was like a mountain in the sky. It was ferocious. Innate superpower, divine fire scorching sun. As soon as the fighting soul appeared, the pagoda master roared. The fire one above him raised its head and spewed out flames. In an instant, the world seemed to have turned into a huge furnace. The mountains, rivers, and land within a radius of hundreds of miles, and even the sky were dyed red by the flames. Looking at the flames, the two old men's gazes turned solemn. Boom! The two old men's bodies shook as they activated their fighting souls at the same time. A black light shot up into the sky. Two tall shadows appeared in the sky in an instant. They were two humanoid fighting souls. Moreover, their fighting souls were exactly the same. The two humanoid fighting souls were dozens of feet tall. They were like two giant spiritual gods that had descended to the mortal world. They exuded a powerful aura. However, their faces could not be seen clearly as they were shrouded in a layer of black fog. Only a rough outline could be seen. Innate superpower, divine demon finger. As soon as the two fighting souls appeared, the two old men roared. At that moment, the two fighting souls raised their arms at the same time and pointed at the sky. Two rays of black light suddenly appeared and blasted toward the flames. Boom! The three innate superpowers were like comets that collided with each other. An earth-shattering explosion was heard. In this place, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Magma erupted. That terrifying destructive aura was like a raging wave in a vast ocean, destroying everything in its path. At that moment, whether it was Qin Feiyang and the other two, or the city governor and the rest, they all fled without looking back. It was too terrifying. It was like the end of the world. It was a sign of the end of the world. Puff! At the same time, the pagoda master spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a fallen leaf in the wind, he flew uncontrollably into the distance. Crack! The mask on his face was also shattered. His sapphire-like eyes were filled with a sense of weakness that could not be dispelled. The two old men were also sent flying, but their situation was much better than the pagoda master's. Boom! Soon, they stabilized their bodies and charged toward the pagoda master again. Looking at the dying pagoda master and the two old men who were filled with murderous intent, Wolf King frowned and said, "Little Qin Zi, do you still want to help?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded without hesitation and said, "Also, I have another task for you." After that, Qin Feiyang whispered a few words in the ears of Wolf King and Fatso. The man and the beast's eyes lit up. They immediately swooped down and disappeared into the mountain stream below. Qin Feiyang also raised his head and looked at Mu Qing, who was standing in the distance. He secretly sneered and said, "Let's see how long you can jump around." Then, he turned his gaze to the pagoda master and shouted, "Come to me quickly." The pagoda master looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Looking at Qin Feiyang's expression, she felt an inexplicable peace in her heart. No longer hesitating, she stepped into the void and forcibly stabilized her body. Then she turned into a divine rainbow and flew toward Qin Feiyang like lightning. No matter where you go, you have to die today. The two old men followed closely, their faces full of murderous intent. At the same time, Mu Qing also looked at Qin Feiyang with a trace of surprise in her eyes. What was this guy planning? No. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. He looked at Qin Feiyang's left and right sides, and then looked behind Qin Feiyang. Where were Fatso and Wolf King? When did they disappear? He hurriedly glanced at the mountains below, but he didn't find any trace of them. Did they go to the castle? Swish. At this time, the pagoda master landed in front of Qin Feiyang and said, "Why did you call me here? Since you're about to die, can you let me see your true face?" Qin Feiyang chuckled. Hearing this, a row of black lines appeared on the pagoda master's forehead. "Don't be angry. I'm joking." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand, took out a rib bone from his cosmos bag and said, "Use this. I guarantee that I can beat up those two old dogs." The pagoda master looked at the rib bone, her eyes flashing with a hint of surprise and doubt. "Qin Feiyang, if you don't want to die, then get lost." The two old men rushed over with murderous intent. The pagoda master's eyes darkened. Before she could ask in detail, she grabbed the rib bone and turned to kill the two old men. Seeing the rib bone in the pagoda master's hand, the two old men couldn't help but be surprised. Mu Qing, who was in the distance, couldn't help but frown. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes were filled with horror. He shouted at the two old men, "Don't fight head-on, retreat." But it was too late. The pagoda master swept in front of the two old men like lightning, raised the rib bone, and smashed it toward the head of one of the old men. However, the old man was also a powerhouse who had experienced countless battles. When he heard Mu Qing shout, he immediately retreated. At the same time, he raised both hands to protect his head. Boom! The rib bone instantly smashed into his hands. Ah! Accompanied by a painful scream. The old man was directly hit by the rib bone and crashed into the ground below. His two arms were also smashed, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. So strong? The pagoda master was a little stunned. The other old man also stared at the rib bone with his mouth agape. With this, it'll be easy to defeat these two people. The next moment, the pagoda master came to his senses, and he was hale and hearty. When he saw that the other old man was in a state of distraction, he immediately raised the rib bone and smashed it toward the old man's head. The killing intent was bone-chilling. The old man also trembled. He suddenly came to his senses and quickly dodged to the side. Bang! But it was still too late. Although the rib bone didn't hit his head, it hit his right shoulder. Blood spurted out. His entire right shoulder was smashed into pieces on the spot. His entire body crashed into the ground below like a meteor, just like the old man before him. Boom! Dust and smoke billowed, and the ground collapsed. A huge crater appeared in everyone's line of sight in an instant. Two battle saints were seriously injured in one move. This scene shocked everyone so much that they couldn't close their mouths. Mu Qing's expression was also blank. Who would have thought that something like this would happen? Suddenly. Chapter 754. What? Now you're angry out of humiliation? Weren't you very proud of yourself when you schemed against me? Qin Feiyang sneered. Mu Qing fell silent. In fact, he knew in his heart that the relationship between him and Qin Feiyang would come to this point sooner or later, but he didn't expect it to come so soon. Yes, I admit that I schemed against you, but I really have no malice toward you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have just let them trap you. Mu Qing sighed. Qin Feiyang sneered and said, "Then shouldn't I thank you for not killing me? Forget about it. As long as you leave now, we don't owe each other anything." Mu Qing said. Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold and said, "I don't owe you anything. Besides, don't make it sound so dignified. I'll find out what you and Lu Xingqian are plotting sooner or later." Mu Qing's heart skipped a beat. He shook his head and said, I don't understand what you're talking about. You don't understand? Then tell me, why did you and Lu Xingqian try so hard to lure me here? Qin Feiyang sneered. Mu Qing frowned and said, You're thinking too much. Qin Feiyang waved his hand impatiently and said, Don't talk nonsense with me. I'll tell you, if you don't talk for a day, I'll make sure you don't have a good day. You're unreasonable. Mu Qing was furious. Boom. At this moment, two terrifying auras rushed out from the ground below. Following closely, the two old men rushed out of the ground with murderous intent, and their bodies were dripping with blood. Young master, kill him. The two men looked at Mu Qing and bowed. Young master. Qin Feiyang was shocked. Mu Qing's identity was indeed not simple. Mu Qing glanced at the two of them, then looked at Qin Feiyang, her eyes flickering. Not good. Suddenly, the Tower Master's expression changed drastically. What is it? Qin Feiyang was bewildered. The heavenly lightning flame has been touched by someone. The Tower Master's face was as gloomy as water. She had signed a blood contract with the heavenly thunder flame, so as long as someone touched the heavenly thunder flame, she would be able to sense it immediately. Qin Feiyang said, Then hurry up and kill those two old dogs. Whoosh! The Pagoda Master's gaze turned cold. He grabbed his ribs and rushed towards the two. Young master, please consider it carefully. The two old men spoke to Mu Qing again before turning to look at the Pagoda Master. Their old faces were filled with hostility. Clang! Suddenly, a dazzling divine light shot out from the forehead of an old man. It was a sword. It was 3 feet long and 3 fingers wide. It looked as if it was cast from lava, and its entire body was as red as fire. The sword floated in the air above the two old men, trembling nonstop and creating earth-shattering sounds. As soon as the sword appeared, a vast and mighty holy aura swept out in all directions and shrouded the entire area. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. What kind of joke was this? This was actually another sacred artifact. In addition to the replica of the space-time gate, Mu Qing's clan would have 2 sacred artifacts. When did sacred artifacts become so cheap? At the same time, when the Pagoda Master saw the sword, she could not help but feel worried. A sacred artifact was comparable to a 9-star battle saint. Could the ribs in her hand be a match for it? She could not help but start to doubt. However, her expression was still as cold as ice. A sacred artifact requires a 9-star battle saint to be revived. As for you, you are only 1-star battle saints. If you forcefully revive the sacred artifact, only death awaits you. Do you dare? She sneered and her eyes were filled with mockery. Humph! Even if it doesn't revive, the invincible sharpness of this sacred artifact is enough to break the ribs in your hand. One of the old men snorted. He grabbed the sword and charged forward. Clang! The sound of metal reverberated in all directions, almost tearing the eardrums of those who heard it. The Pagoda Master looked at the old man coldly and asked, Qin Feiyang, can you do it? Yes. Qin Feiyang replied through telepathy. The owner of the ribs was the former emperor, Mu Tianyang. Mu Tianyang was an expert from the same era as the first emperor. His strength must have reached the peak of perfection. Therefore, the Pagoda Master concluded that the ribs should not be inferior to a sacred artifact. After hearing Qin Feiyang's reply, the Pagoda Master could finally rest assured and go all out. At this moment, both the Pagoda Master and the old man stared at each other with an imposing aura. In less than 3 breaths, the two of them met. Die. Almost at the same time, the two of them roared and charged at each other with their ribs and swords. Clang! The ribs and the swords collided fiercely, causing sparks to fly and illuminate the sky. At the same time, with the two of them as the center, an apocalyptic battle wave swept out in all directions. Wherever it passed, the giant mountains crumbled like withered trees. The rumbling sound reverberated through the heavens and earth. Qin Feiyang and the others were sent flying again as if they were struck by lightning. Blood spurted out of their mouths. As for those who escaped from Sky Thunder City and gathered outside the city, more than half of them were killed or injured in an instant. Screams could be heard endlessly. In the end, The battle wave actually spread to hundreds of miles away from Sky Thunder City. The mountains and rivers within hundreds of miles were directly razed to the ground. It's actually so terrifying. Those who were lucky enough to survive looked at the battle between the pagoda master and the old man in horror. Was this the power of a sacred artifact? One had to know. The sword had not recovered yet. If it recovered, how shocking would it be? If they continued to fight like this, everyone here would probably be implicated and die in the end. Clang. High up in the sky, the pagoda master and the old man were already in a frenzy and did not consider this at all. Qin Feiyong stood on top of a mountain peak and took a healing pill. He raised his head and looked at the two people. Gradually, he couldn't help but frown, because now, neither of them could suppress the other and could be considered to be evenly matched. Could it be that he guessed wrong? This Mu Tianyang's strength when he was alive was not as strong as he thought? Clang. But suddenly, under a violent collision, the old man's sword flew out of his hand and into the distance. Moreover, the old man's palm was lacerated and blood flowed out. Even his entire arm was trembling. Obviously, the old man's palm was lacerated because of the collision between the sword and the ribs. It was enough to show that he did not have the upper hand in the battle with the pagoda master. But then, Qin Feiyong's gaze was firmly locked on the sword. That was because the battle sword was flying in his direction. If he could seize the opportunity to snatch it, with a sacred artifact in hand, who would he be afraid of in the future? Decisive. With a leap, he used the phantom steps and rushed toward the sword. Quickly retrieve the sacred artifact. Seeing this, Mu Qing quickly shouted. Heard. The two old men were shocked and hurriedly looked at the sword. Suddenly, a strong, cold light appeared in their old eyes. The person who fought with the pagoda master immediately waved his hand, and the flying sword turned in the air and flew back like lightning. Die! But at the same time, the pagoda master seized the opportunity and suddenly raised his ribs and smashed the old man's head. With a cracking sound, the old man's head exploded on the spot like a watermelon. The bloody scene was simply unbearable to look at. He's dead? The expressions of Mu Qing and the other old man also immediately turned blank, and the sword, when the old man died, stopped in the void and did not move. Good chance. Qin Feiyong quickly rushed forward. His big hand suddenly stretched out and grabbed it in his hand. A sacred artifact. He lowered his head and looked at the sword. His eyes shone brightly and his body was trembling with excitement. He had never thought that one day he would own a sacred artifact. Damn it! When Mu Qing came back to his senses, he saw that the sword was already in Qin Feiyong's hand. He immediately became anxious and shouted to the other old man, "What are you waiting for? Quickly take back the sacred artifact." Take it back? Qin Feiyong looked up at Mu Qing and said sarcastically, "You want to take back something that is already in my hands? Is it possible?" After saying that, he bit his finger and decisively dripped his blood to claim ownership. When the old man died, the sword stopped moving. It could be seen that the old man was the one who controlled this sacred artifact. And when the old man died, the blood contract in the sword naturally dissipated. In other words, this sacred artifact was now ownerless. Sure enough, the blood contract and the battle sword disappeared, and Qin Feiyong successfully dripped his blood on it to become its master. This also meant that now he was officially the owner of this sacred artifact. What an unexpected gain. It's over. I lost a sacred artifact before I even got the heavenly thunder flame, and a battle sage died. When I go back, I will definitely be beaten to death by father. The moment Qin Feiyong claimed ownership of the sword, Mu Qing was paralyzed in the air, his face full of despair. But the old man did not give up. Like a bolt of lightning, he rushed towards Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong was still very weak and did not dare to revive the sacred artifact. As long as he could take it back, he could instantly erase the blood contract inside. Qin Feiyong looked up at the old man and said disdainfully, "Even your master has given up. What are you still doing here?" The old man looked at him coldly and said, "Hand it over immediately and this old man will spare your life. Have you forgotten about me?" But before he finished speaking, a bone-chilling voice came from behind him. The old man's face changed and he hurriedly looked back. He saw the pagoda master holding the rib and rushing over with a murderous aura. Even if I die, I will take back the sacred artifact. He gritted his teeth and continued to rush towards Qin Feiyang. At the same time, a terrifying holy aura enveloped Qin Feiyang. Let me tell you, not only will you not be able to take it back, you will also lose your life. Qin Feiyang grinned. Then, he disappeared into thin air without a trace after saying that. Where is he? The old man stopped in the air and looked around in surprise. Idiot, don't you know that he has a spatial divine object? Be careful of your back. Get out of the way. At this time, Mu Qing's angry roar sounded. Behind, the old man's eyes trembled and he hurriedly dodged to the side. But it was too late. The pagoda master took a step forward, grabbed the rib firmly, and smashed it towards the top of his head. Ah! A miserable scream suddenly resounded through the sky. The old man's head exploded on the spot without any suspense. Blood stained the sky. Idiots! You are all idiots. Seeing this scene, Mu Qing was so angry that he went crazy and stomped his feet in the air. Whoosh! It was also at this time that Qin Feiyang appeared. Chapter 755. Write it off. Haha! Mu Qing laughed crazily as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "It seems that you're still not convinced. What a joke. You killed 2 of my clan's battle saints and even stole my clan's sacred artifact. Do you think it's possible to write it off?" Mu Qing roared. Qin Feiyang fell silent. The grudge between him and Mu Qing had become deeper and deeper. If he wanted to resolve this grudge, only one of them could survive. Here's your rib. At this moment, the pagoda master turned around and handed the rib to Qin Feiyang. There was a trace of gratitude in his sky-blue eyes. If not for Qin Feiyang's help, not to mention protecting the heavenly thunder flame, his life would have been another matter. Qin Feiyang took the rib and smiled at the pagoda master. Then, he looked at Mu Qing again. His eyes flashed with a cold light. "I'll leave Mu Qing to you. I'll go to the Pill Pagoda and kill that scarred man." The pagoda master left these words and rushed towards the Pill Pagoda's gate. Boom! But at this moment, a terrifying aura descended and enveloped this world. The pagoda master stopped and looked at the sky in surprise. Qin Feiyang immediately raised his head and looked over. Immediately, their eyes trembled. At this moment, an old man was standing in the sky. The old man had a ruddy complexion and white hair. His body was strong. However, he was not tall. He was probably only about 1.5 meters tall. He was wearing a fiery red robe. From his appearance alone, this old man was very inconspicuous. However, the aura he exuded was even stronger than the pagoda master. There was also a trace of gloominess between his brows that could not be dispelled. Mu Qing also looked at the old man in surprise and asked, "Elder Sheng, why are you here?" The old man glanced at Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing and said, "If I didn't come, I'm afraid even you would have died here." Upon hearing this, Mu Qing lowered her head in shame. "Young master, I was the one who informed Elder Sheng to come." It was also at this moment. A gloomy voice sounded from within the Pill Tower. Following closely, the scarred man rushed out of the Pill Pagoda's door and flew toward Mu Qing like a bolt of lightning. In his hand, there was a cluster of purple flames. Previously, after obtaining the heavenly lightning flame, he immediately left the Pill Tower. However, when he arrived at the gate and saw the 2 battle saints killed, he immediately understood that he would not be able to escape today. Therefore, he immediately sent a message to Elder Sheng asking for help. He only dared to show up when Old Master Sheng came. At the same time, the pagoda master's expression suddenly changed when he saw the purple flame in the scar-faced man's hand. He quickly chased after him and shouted, "Leave the heavenly lightning flame behind. Do you want to die?" The gaze of the old man in the sky also turned cold. He didn't seem to move at all, but a terrifying holy aura poured down like a waterfall toward the Tower Master. The Tower Master's pupils shrank, and he retreated without hesitation. Boom! The holy aura blasted into the ground below. A shocking explosion took place, resulting in a deafening explosion. Crack. Boom. On the ground below, bottomless fissures had appeared, and these cracks were still spreading crazily in all directions at lightning speed. If one were to look down from the sky, the scene would be even more shocking. At this moment, the land within a radius of 1,000 miles was like a broken spider web, so powerful. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyang's eyes had a trace of horror. This person must not be defeated by force. Seeing that the pagoda master was about to chase after the scarred man, Qin Feiyang hurriedly transmitted his voice, "Don't be rash. I have arranged a backup plan. The heavenly lightning flame won't be able to escape." The pagoda master was surprised. What backup plan? Why didn't she notice it? Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and shouted, "Do it." "What do you mean?" The pagoda master was even more confused. Mu Qing also looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. If it were someone else, he wouldn't care. But he knew Qin Feiyang too well. Every action and every word of his had a hidden meaning. Before he finished speaking, two figures suddenly rushed out of the mountain stream directly below Mu Qing. They were Fatso and Wolf King, who had disappeared. One man and one wolf used their extreme speed, like two divine rainbows, and landed in front of Mu Qing in the blink of an eye. Then, Fatso reached out his hand and firmly grabbed Mu Qing's throat. This sudden turn of events was something that no one had expected. At first, Mu Qing also thought that Fatso and Wolf King had gone to the castle, but who would have thought that they had been hiding right below him, waiting for an opportunity to make a move? Let him go. Elder Shang was the first to come to his senses, and his eyes immediately surged with murderous intent. Boom. That terrifying holy aura was like a heavenly tribulation, and it blasted toward the man and the wolf. Fatso looked up at Elder Shang and grinned. "Old man, you'd better withdraw your aura immediately, or Fat Lord will kill him." "How dare you?" Elder Shang roared. "Let's see if Fat Lord dares to." Fatso smiled coldly, and his 5 fingers suddenly tightened. Mu Qing's face suddenly turned red. At the same time, his hands also grabbed Fatso's arm, and he struggled desperately. Seeing this, Elder Shang's face changed slightly, and he quickly withdrew his majesty and said in a deep voice, "What do you want?" "You'll have to ask my boss." Fatso chuckled. "Boss?" Elder Shang frowned and asked, "Who is your boss?" "Nonsense. Of course it's Qin Feiyang." Fatso raised his eyebrows and said angrily. Elder Shang immediately looked at Qin Feiyang, and his eyes flashed coldly. Qin Feiyang shrunk his neck and said very seriously, "Don't scare me with that look, okay? Let me tell you, I'm a very timid person. If I'm frightened, I might do something out of line." As he spoke, he flew toward Wolf King and Fatso. The Tower Master also followed beside him. She was also extremely impressed by Qin Feiyang's methods and temperament. One had to know that Elder Shang was even stronger than her. If it was anyone else, they would have been scared out of their wits. But this kid, his expression didn't change at all, and he even dared to flirt with her. Just this courage alone was enough to make anyone praise him. When Elder Shang heard these words, smoke rose from his head. He was obviously furious to the extreme, and the scarred man didn't fly toward Mu Qing anymore. He flew behind Elder Shang and stared at Qin Feiyang and the others coldly. Soon, Qin Feiyang and the Tower Master arrived in front of Fatso and Wolf King. Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing and said with a smile, "Your family background is so powerful. How can I not have a backup plan?" "You're ruthless." Mu Qing's face was gloomy. "Ruthless? In terms of ruthlessness, I'm not even half as ruthless as you. At least, I won't deliberately kill so many lives in Sky Thunder City." Qin Feiyang sneered. Mu Qing said gloomily, "The weak are prey to the strong. Don't you understand this principle?" "Of course I understand. But it doesn't mean that the strong can kill the innocent." Qin Feiyang shouted. Mu Qing frowned and said, "I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Just say it. What do you want?" "I think you have nothing to say." Qin Feiyang smiled disdainfully, raised his head to look at Elder Shang, and said indifferently, "Hand over the heavenly thunder flames." Elder Shang was silent. "Don't challenge my patience. Although you are stronger than me, as long as I want to hide, you can't do anything to me," Qin Feiyang said. Elder Shang stared at Qin Feiyang angrily, gritted his teeth and said, "Give it to him." The scarred man said anxiously, "Elder Shang, you can't." But before he could finish his words, Elder Shang said angrily, "Can the heavenly thunder flames be compared to the young master's life? Give it to him." The scarred man's gaze trembled as he lowered his head to look at the heavenly thunder flames. His eyes filled with disbelief. One had to know. In order to snatch the heavenly thunder flames, not only did they lose a sacred artifact, they also lost 2 war saints. It wasn't easy to get it, but now they had to send it back. Then wouldn't their losses be worthless? However, Elder Shang was right. No matter how important the heavenly thunder flames were, it couldn't be compared to the young master. Sigh. He sighed deeply and waved his big hand that was holding the heavenly thunder flames. The heavenly thunder flames flew out of his hand and flew towards Qin Feiyang and the others. "Qin Feiyang, thank you." The pagoda master looked at Qin Feiyang gratefully. Today, this person had really helped her a lot. "It's nothing." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. Fatso was stunned and said, "Boss, are you really going to return it to her? We can't fall out with her now. Otherwise, we will be in a situation where we will be attacked from both sides." Qin Feiyang secretly said. Fatso frowned imperceptibly, but didn't say anything more. The heavenly thunder flames was like a gorgeous purple stream of light, cutting through the sky, getting closer and closer to Qin Feiyang and the others. But a change happened again. Swish! A white figure appeared out of thin air, flashing towards the heavenly thunder flames like lightning, and then grabbed it in his hand. Who is it? Whether it was Qin Feiyang and the others, or Old Shang and the others, at this moment, a sharp light burst out from their eyes. But when the white figure revealed her true appearance, Qin Feiyang and the others' faces changed. It was a beautiful woman. Her soft long hair was tied up high, and her snow-white dress was spotless, looking graceful and luxurious. That's right. This person was the mysterious madam. Qin Feiyang asked in surprise, "Why are you here?" Swish! Before his voice died away, another 2 figures flew up into the sky. They were the burly man and the snakeskin old man. Of course, Madam knows, because Madam guessed that you would come to Sky Thunder City. So, after you escaped, Madam asked us to wait for you here. And the news of your appearance was deliberately leaked by us. The 2 of them sneered. Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 of them, then looked at the beautiful woman and frowned. "Are you really going to keep pestering me like this?" The beautiful woman just looked at him indifferently, then looked at the pagoda master and smiled. "Long time no see." "You are?" The pagoda master frowned and looked at the beautiful woman suspiciously. "Have you forgotten? That year, it was me who saved Qin Feiyang from your hands." The beautiful woman said, "So it's you." A cold light flashed in the pagoda master's eyes, and he said in a deep voice, "Then why are you snatching the heavenly thunder flames now? As long as it's something Qin Feiyang wants, no matter what it is, I will snatch it." "That's the reason." The beautiful woman pursed her lips and smiled. Battle chi surged into the heavenly thunder flames, directly erasing the blood contract inside. Puff. Chapter 756. At the same time, waves of shock surged in her heart. She actually erased her blood contract so easily? Just how strong was this woman? Then, she turned her head to look at Qin Feiyang and said in a deep voice, "Your goal is also the flames of heavenly thunder?" Yes. Qin Feiyang did not deny it, because at this point, there was nothing to worry about. Hee. The pagoda master smiled bitterly. She really didn't expect that these people were all here for the flames of heavenly thunder. Even if she successfully chased away Mu Qing, there was still a hungry wolf lurking beside her, waiting for an opportunity to make a move. In other words, no matter what, she couldn't keep the flames of heavenly thunder today. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and couldn't help but sympathize with the pagoda master. In fact, the flames of heavenly thunder wasn't that important to him now. What he was really curious about was what was hidden in the flames of heavenly thunder. Suddenly, the pagoda master looked at the mysterious woman again and said, "I don't understand. Since you were saving Qin Feiyang back then, why are you going against him now?" The mysterious woman's eyes flashed with a sharp light and said, "Because he repaid kindness with ingratitude." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Don't talk about these useless things. You want me to follow you. Don't you want to use me?" "Yes, I admit it. But now, you no longer have any value to me. That's why I'm here this time to send you to hell." The mysterious woman's killing intent appeared. Her slender index finger pointed in the air, and a terrifying holy aura suddenly roared out, charging towards Qin Feiyang. She wouldn't care about Mu Qing's life or death. In her eyes, there were only Qin Feiyang, Fatso, and Wolf King. But just because she didn't care, it didn't mean that Elder Shang and the Scarred Man didn't care either. Because Mu Qing was still in Fatso's hands. If Qin Feiyang and the others were killed, then Mu Qing would also die. Boom. Elder Shang immediately made his move and dispersed the mysterious woman's holy aura. "Who are you? How dare you ruin my plans?" The mysterious lady suddenly raised her head and stared coldly at Old Man Shang. Old Man Shang said sternly, "I don't care if you kill Qin Feiyang, but you can't touch the young master." "Young master?" The mysterious lady was stunned. Old Man Shipai said in a low voice, "Madam, you've just arrived, so you might not know. That Mu Qing is their young master." "Who is Mu Qing?" The madam was suspicious. "That's him. They are also here to snatch the heavenly lightning flame." Old Man Snakeskin said respectfully as he pointed at Mu Qing, who was being held by Fatso. The mysterious madam looked at Mu Qing with a trace of astonishment in her eyes. She said, "Even an 8-star battle saint addresses you as young master. Your identity is not simple." "What? Then Elder Shang is an 8-star battle saint." The eyes of Qin Feiyang and the others trembled. This was truly an invincible existence. Fatso sent his voice, "Boss, we can't continue like this. We need to escape as soon as possible." Qin Feiyang nodded. Just Elder Shang alone was not someone they could contend against. With this mysterious madam, there was no way they could survive. Whoosh! Without hesitation, he opened a portal. "Trying to run?" The mysterious madam smiled disdainfully. With a flick of her sleeve, a holy aura directly blasted at the portal. Qin Feiyang suddenly raised his head and looked at Elder Shang in the sky. He shouted, "If you want Mu Qing to live, stop her immediately." "Do you think I'm an idiot?" Elder Shang sneered. Boom. Before his voice died away, the portal was shattered by the mysterious madam's holy aura. The mysterious madam's gaze turned and landed on Qin Feiyang, Fatso, and Wolf King. She said, "Today, none of you will leave." Whoosh. At the same time, the pagoda master at the side suddenly took action and grabbed the Wolf King. He shouted, "If you want to die, then today we will all die together." "Bastard!" Qin Feiyang was furious. He stared at the tower master gloomily and said, "If it weren't for me, you would have died long ago. Don't make it sound so dignified. Didn't you save me for the flame of heavenly thunder?" The tower master sneered. Qin Feiyang said angrily, "But I didn't say that we must snatch the flame of heavenly thunder. Don't treat me like an idiot." The tower master snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang was extremely angry. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have helped this woman. The current situation was quite complicated. Mu Qing was in the hands of Fatso, Wolf King was in the hands of the tower master, and the flame of heavenly thunder was in the hands of the mysterious madam. But there was one person who was not restrained, and that was the mysterious madam. Whether it was Qin Feiyang's group, Mu Qing's group, or the tower master, none of them could affect her. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the others who were restraining each other, the mysterious madam had a trace of a smile in her eyes. Looking at the mysterious madam's smile, a strong sense of uneasiness rose in everyone's hearts. Elder Shang said telepathically, "Qin Feiyang, as long as you are willing to let go of the young master, this old man promises to help you escape from this place. Don't treat me like an idiot. If I really let go of Mu Qing, I'm afraid the first person you will kill will be me." Qin Feiyang sneered secretly. "That won't happen. This old man might as well tell you the truth. That woman's cultivation is stronger than mine. She should be a 9-star battle saint or even higher. If we continue to restrain her like this, we will definitely die in her hands in the end." Elder Sheng said to himself. What? Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. The mysterious madam was so strong? Swish. It was also at this moment. The mysterious madam took a step forward and walked towards Qin Feiyang step by step. Her steps were very slow. Her long dress fluttered in the wind, and her black hair danced in the wind. She was like a fairy from the ninth heaven who had descended to the mortal world, and her entire body was emitting a heart-palpitating aura. Fatso said anxiously, Boss, what should we do? Don't panic. Elder Sheng won't let her make a move. Qin Feiyang said to himself. As long as Mu Qing was still in his hands, Mu Qing's clansmen would do their best to help him. Heard it. A cold light flashed in Fatso's eyes. He turned around abruptly and faced the mysterious madam, placing Mu Qing in front of him. Damn it! Seeing Fatso using Mu Qing as a shield, Elder Sheng and the scarred man's expressions changed. Elder Sheng immediately looked at the mysterious madam and shouted, If you dare to hurt the young master, the Mu family will definitely not let you off. Mu family? The mysterious madam was stunned. She raised her eyebrows slightly and said, Which Mu family? Elder Sheng said arrogantly, It doesn't matter which Mu family it is. In short, you can't afford to offend them. Is that so? The mysterious madam smiled, but a trace of coldness flashed in her eyes. Whoosh! But suddenly, another figure soared into the sky from the mountain stream below. With lightning speed, he captured the burly man and the snakeskin old man behind the mysterious madam. Who is it? Everyone was shocked and looked up. It turned out to be the city lord of Sky Thunder City. The city lord glanced at Qin Feiyang and looked at the mysterious madam. He shouted, Leave the heavenly thunder flame and get out of Sky Thunder City immediately. Otherwise, I will kill them. And? The mysterious madam was stunned. She turned around and looked at the city lord. The corner of her mouth pursed into a playful smile. Immediately, Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted. He said with a sound transmission, Don't worry about us. Run. The city lord was stunned. He asked in confusion, Her people are in my hands. Why should we run? You don't understand her. She doesn't care about the life and death of others. Hurry. Qin Feiyang shouted anxiously. What? The city lord's expression changed. Madam, save us. At the same time, the burly man and the snakeskin old man also begged for help from the mysterious madam in fear. They were only war emperor, and the city lord was a two-star war sect. If they were caught by the city lord, there was no way for them to escape. The mysterious madam looked at the two of them with an extremely cold expression. She looked at the city lord and laughed. You really aren't afraid of death. The city lord was afraid. What I hate the most is being threatened. And those who once threatened me, without exception, all died miserably. The mysterious madam laughed. After she finished speaking, her gaze turned cold. Next, she raised her hand and waved it. A vast and mighty holy might roared out, instantly drowning the city lord and the burly man. Accompanied by 3 mournful screams, the city lord and the other 2 immediately splattered their blood in the air. You damned demoness! Qin Feiyang and the pagoda master roared at the same time. The mysterious madam was stunned. Mu Qing, Elder Sheng, and the scarred man also looked at Qin Feiyang in a daze. The city lord was killed, so it made sense for the pagoda master to be angry. After all, they had been together for so many years, so there was a certain level of affection between them. But what did Qin Feiyang's roar have to do with him? Qin Feiyang smiled sadly, looked at Mu Qing and said, Don't you want to know how I was able to find out your identity? Mu Qing nodded, and then seemed to have thought of something and asked in surprise, Is he helping you? That's right. He checked all the people who participated in the assessment this time. In the end, he only found that you were the only one with an abnormal identity. He even personally went to the Tang tribe to investigate, and found that there was no such person as Tang Hai. That's why I set my sights on you, Qin Feiyang said. Mu Qing's face froze. So it turned out that his identity was exposed because of the city lord. The pagoda master next to him frowned. So, he has been bought over by you? I forced him. But why is he so stupid? He could have just sat back and watched. Why did he help me? Qin Feiyang's face was full of pain. The pagoda master fell silent. He blamed himself and was in so much pain for a person he had just met. This man was indeed a loyal and righteous person. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang suddenly raised his head and looked at the mysterious madam and said word by word, "I promise, you will regret it." The mysterious madam lifted the corner of her mouth and said indifferently, "How can a person who is about to die say such words? Don't you think it's funny? Then you'd better not let me escape." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly, and he waved his hand, ready to enter the castle with the pagoda master and Mu Qing. But the mysterious madam seemed to have expected Qin Feiyang to do so. Boom! The holy power erupted, covering the sky and the earth, and instantly imprisoned Qin Feiyang and the others in the void. "Go to hell." Immediately after, the mysterious madam shouted coldly. Qin Feiyang and the others immediately felt that the holy power that imprisoned them began to crazily squeeze their bodies. Obviously, the mysterious madam wanted to make them explode and die. Mu Qing, Wolf King, and Fatso could not help but scream. Blood kept spurting out of the pores all over their bodies. In an instant, everyone was covered in blood, including Qin Feiyang and the pagoda master. "Not good. Quickly inform the patriarch. I will go and hold her back." Seeing this, Chapter 757. Patriarch. The mysterious lady raised her head to look at Elder Shang and frowned slightly. If a clansman was so strong, then how strong was the patriarch? Her eyes flashed with killing intent as she pointed her index finger in the air. The holy might was like a waterfall as it blasted towards the scarred man like lightning. The scarred man was taking out the image crystal when he sensed the terrifying holy might. His expression changed drastically as he quickly turned around and fled. "Don't even think about it." Seeing this, Elder Shang, who was diving down, roared angrily as a black light rushed out from his back. It was also a humanoid battle soul. It was almost exactly the same as the battle soul of the two old men who were killed by the pagoda master. The battle soul's true appearance could not be seen clearly, but it was more than 100 feet tall, like a giant spirit god. Innate ability, Demon God Finger. The humanoid battle soul raised his arm and pointed in the air. Boom! A ray of black light suddenly appeared, bringing along a destructive aura as it blasted towards the holy might. But the black light was unable to stop the holy might. On the contrary, the black light was crushed by the holy might. Puff! At the same time, Elder Shang also spat out a mouthful of blood as his old body flew out like a meteorite. Finally! The scarred man also did not escape. Accompanied by a shrill scream, he was smashed into pieces by the holy might, not even leaving a corpse behind. But the mysterious lady turned a blind eye to this. Her gaze was firmly locked onto the humanoid battle soul above Elder Shang. At first, when she saw the battle soul, her expression was slightly sluggish and her gaze was somewhat absent-minded. But soon after, monstrous killing intent emerged in her eyes. "So you are from the Mu family," she said coldly, her eyes gloomy and frightening. "You know?" Elder Shang was surprised. "Others don't know, but it doesn't mean that I don't know. You people from the Mu family deserve to die." As soon as she finished speaking, the mysterious lady's arm burst out, her 5 fingers bent like an eagle's claw as she stretched out in the air. Boom! A shocking aura emerged and roared towards Elder Shang. "What a strong aura! You are indeed a war king." Elder Shang's expression changed as he turned around and fled without hesitation. "It's too late to escape now." The mysterious lady smiled coldly as her aura roared in the sky, directly imprisoning Elder Shang in the air. "Die. Next." She clenched her fist. Old man Shang, who had been restrained, immediately let out a miserable cry and exploded on the spot. "This is too scary." The hearts of Qin Feiyang and the others trembled. An 8-star battle saint was killed in an instant just like that? Just what level had this woman's cultivation reached? Whoosh! After killing old Shang, the mysterious madam turned to Mu Qing and asked, "Are you the young master of the Mu family?" Mu Qing was also completely flustered. This time, Not only were the people he brought wiped out, even Elder Sheng died tragically on the spot. Moreover, judging from this woman's attitude, she must have a deep grudge with the Mu family. Who could save him now? The mysterious madam didn't continue to be long-winded. She waved her hand, and a gigantic hand that blotted out the sky appeared. Die! Following her low shout, the giant hand suddenly slapped towards Qin Feiyong and the others. There was no luck. Qin Feiyong, Fatso, Wolf King, the Pagoda Master, and Mu Qing were sent flying on the spot. Blood splattered and dyed the void red. Bang! Bang! Rumble. In the end, the few of them crashed into a mountain range hundreds of miles away. A few giant mountains collapsed on the spot. The earth trembled violently. The group of people were all buried under the gravel and soil. Oomph! The mysterious madam raised her head and snorted coldly as she flew away. Only when the mysterious madam disappeared did those lucky survivors in Sky Thunder City let out a sigh of relief. However, the shock in their eyes didn't dissipate for a long time. It was too scary. Whether it was Old Man Shang or the mysterious madam, they were simply godlike existences. In less than half a day, the news of Sky Thunder City being destroyed, Qin Feiyong and the others being killed, and the fire of Sky Thunder being robbed spread to all the major tribes. Everyone was boiling with excitement. They were all wondering who this mysterious madam was, to actually have such terrifying strength. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In these 3 days, countless people came to Sky Thunder City to investigate, but they couldn't get close, because there were still remnants of the battle between Old Man Shang and the mysterious madam in the void here. Although these were only the aftermath of the battle, even a war emperor would be smashed to pieces if he got close. One could only see an ancient pagoda sitting in the ruins from afar. It was the Pill Pagoda. After such a terrifying battle, the Pill Pagoda was still intact. It was simply too magical. And on this morning, in a certain ruin, an arm suddenly emerged from the soil. If someone saw it now, they would definitely be scared out of their wits, because that arm was pale and powerless, covered in blood, like the hand of a dead person. At first glance, it looked like a dead person was crawling out from the ground. Soon, a young man with disheveled hair and a dirty face crawled out from the soil. Where is this? He lay on the ground and looked around, his eyes full of confusion. However, when he saw the Pill Pagoda, a trace of bewilderment crept onto his weak face. Following that, the surprise on his face was replaced by joy. That's the Pill Pagoda. I'm not dead yet. The young man immediately lay on the ground and looked at the dark sky, gasping for breath. Gradually, a trace of suspicion crept into his eyes. Even Old Man Shang died in the hands of the mysterious madam. How could he not die? Right. Where are Fatso and Wolf King? The young man suddenly shuddered, turned over and got up, and began to search in the ruins. That's right. This person was Qin Feiyong. For the past 3 days, he had been in a coma. When he woke up, he thought that he had already entered hell. But when he crawled out from the ground and saw the Pill Pagoda, he realized that he was not dead at all. Since he was not dead, then Fatso and White-Eyed Wolf were not dead either? However, after searching a radius of dozens of miles, he could not find Fatso and Wolf King. Are they dead? Qin Feiyong muttered, lying weakly on the ground, his pale face filled with sadness and despair. How could Fatso and Wolf King still be alive in the face of the mysterious madam's all-out attack? But the question was, why was he still alive? He vaguely remembered that when he was hit by that giant hand, his consciousness disappeared on the spot. He had no idea what happened later. Thud. Suddenly, not far behind him, the faint sound of footsteps could be heard. Who is it? Qin Feiyong suddenly turned his head to look. Dozens of meters behind him, there was a broken hill. The sound of footsteps came from behind the small hill. He quickly got up and quietly walked over. When he came to the hill and carefully looked over, a trace of joy crept onto his face. He saw that behind the hill, there was a person limping towards him. This person was fat. His body was also stained with blood, and his footsteps were weak. Moreover, he was also looking around, as if he was looking for something. If this was not Fatso, who else could it be? Boss, Brother Wolf, where are you? Fat Lord is not dead. How could you be dead? As he searched, he muttered to himself. His fat face was also full of despair and misery. Qin Feiyang's heart warmed, and he quickly waved his hand. Damn Fatso, I'm here. This voice, Fatso's spirit was lifted, and he looked in the direction of the voice. When he saw Qin Feiyang standing next to the hill, his face was filled with ecstasy. Boss, Fat Lord knew you wouldn't die. Fatso immediately rushed over. But because he was overjoyed, he didn't notice the stone under his feet and tripped over a piece of gravel. With a bang, he fell on the spot with a bloody nose and swollen eyes. Fat Lord's handsome face. Fatso also suddenly cried out in pain. Weirdo. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He trotted over and helped Fatso up. Boss, it's great that you're not dead. Fatso came up and gave Qin Feiyang a bear hug. His tears and snot rubbed all over Qin Feiyang's body. Okay. A man crying, isn't it shameful? Qin Feiyang said helplessly. Who said men can't cry? Fatso pursed his lips, let go of Qin Feiyang, and said, You know what? When I climbed out of the ground just now, I was really afraid that you were all dead. Qin Feiyang patted Fatso's shoulder and sighed. I was looking for you before. Did you see the white-eyed wolf? No. Fatso shook his head. His face was full of worry. Qin Feiyang was silent for a while and said with a smile, Don't worry, the two of us are still alive. That scourge definitely won't die. Yes, good people don't live long, but scourges live for thousands of years. Fatso nodded. Qin Feiyang forced a smile and said, Let's go and look for it. What do you mean? How did I become a scourge? But before the two of them could take a step, an angry voice sounded in the ruins not far away. Heard. Qin Feiyang and Fatso were overjoyed. They quickly turned around and saw countless broken cracks on the ground in front of them. And right next to one of the cracks, the palm-sized Wolf King was lying on a piece of gravel, staring at them angrily. Brother, Fat Lord missed you so much. Fatso immediately opened his arms and ran toward Wolf King. Get lost. A row of black lines suddenly appeared on Wolf King's forehead. This damn Fatso was really disgusting. The smile on Qin Feiyang's face at this moment was also undisguised. No matter what, everyone was still alive, which was better than anything else. The two men and one beast gathered together. Wolf King said suspiciously, Strange, why aren't we dead? I'm wondering too. Qin Feiyang frowned. What's there to wonder? It must be because Fat Lord is too handsome, and the King of Hell is reluctant to take away Fat Lord's little life. You're all benefiting from Fat Lord's glory. Fatso laughed. Go away. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King couldn't help but stare fiercely at Fatso. They had seen shameless people, but they had never seen such a shameless person. Was this fat head and big ears even close to being handsome? Fatso pursed his lips and said, Then tell me the reason? It can't be that the woman deliberately showed mercy and didn't kill us, right? Qin Feiyang and Wolf King were stunned. Maybe it was really possible? Chapter 758. Fatso looked at the reaction of the man and the wolf, his face twitching, and said, You guys don't really believe that she was merciful, do you? Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, It's not hard to judge whether she was merciful or not. How? Fatso and Wolf King looked at him in surprise. At that time, we were attacked together with the Pagoda Master and Mu Qing. If the Pagoda Master and Mu Qing are dead, it proves that the mysterious lady did show mercy. On the other hand, there might be another reason. Qin Feiyang said. Fatso thought for a moment, then nodded. That makes sense. But where are we going to find them now? At that time, although they were attacked together, they all dispersed in the end. Moreover, the two of them must have been buried underground like them. In such a large area, to find two people underground was equivalent to finding a needle in a haystack. It's not difficult. Qin Feiyang smiled, turned to look at Wolf King, and said, It's time for you to show your skills. Fatso looked at Wolf King suspiciously. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, he slapped his forehead in annoyance and laughed. Brother Wolf, quickly show your dog nose. Ew. Wolf King's eyes flashed with a cold light. and directly bit Fatso's buttocks, causing Fatso to grimace in pain. "If you dare to speak rudely again, be careful that I bite your balls." Wolf King looked at Fatso unkindly, then turned around and looked around. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled, slowly following behind Wolf King. The Wolf King rubbed its bleeding buttocks and groaned as it followed them. A moment later, Wolf King stopped in front of a pile of rubble and said, "There is the smell of the pagoda master's blood here. She should be here." Qin Feiyong immediately waved his hand, and a gust of wind rose, directly sweeping away the rubble. Immediately, a bloody figure entered the line of sight of the two humans and one wolf. It really was the pagoda master. However, at this moment, her clothes were ragged, her aura was completely gone, and the blood all over her body had already solidified. Qin Feiyong said, "Quick, take a look." Fatso walked forward and squatted beside the tower master, checking his pulse and heartbeat. Gradually, he frowned and then focused his mind on the main body of the pagoda. After a careful examination, Fatso sighed deeply. He raised his head to look at Qin Feiyong and said, "Dead. The cause of death is the shattering of his sea of consciousness. We were attacked at the same time. She died, but we are still alive. Furthermore, she is a one-star battle saint. She is much stronger than us. Doesn't this prove that the woman showed mercy?" Wolf King said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyong's mood became extremely heavy all of a sudden. Being able to survive was naturally a good thing, but it was followed by worry. Why didn't this mysterious madam kill them? Was he plotting something? At this time, Fatso stretched out his arm and took off the broken mask on the tower master's face. A pale face suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. It was only at this moment that the two humans and one wolf saw the true appearance of the tower master. Her facial features were exquisite and picturesque. Her skin was also as soft and delicate as mutton fat. She was like a sleeping beauty, lying peacefully on the ground. Such a beautiful woman died like this. It's really a pity. Fatso sighed deeply and took away the chinkuan bag of the tower master. He got up and waved his hand. The surrounding soil rolled and buried the tower master. "It's indeed a pity." Wolf King nodded and looked up at Fatso. He asked suspiciously, "Why did you take her chinkuan bag?" "You don't understand. This person is the tower master of the Sky Thunder City Pill Tower. Maybe there is some information about the pill tower in her chinkuan bag." Fatso laughed. "That's true." Wolf King nodded. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He said, "Let's check the chinkuan bag later. Let's find Mu Qing first." Crack. But before he finished speaking, a crisp sound came from the left. It seemed to be the sound of a withered branch breaking. "There's someone." The gazes of the two people and one wolf turned cold as they simultaneously turned their heads to look. Just a dozen meters away, next to a small mound, they saw a person. It was also a young man. He was covered in wounds and his face was as pale as paper. At this moment, the young man was stepping on a broken, withered branch. "You're actually not dead?" The two humans and one wolf were extremely incredulous. This person was Mu Qing. Although Mu Qing's injuries were very serious, she was indeed standing in front of them alive. Mu Qing looked at the withered branch under her feet with a trace of anger. Then she looked up at the two humans and one wolf and sneered, "I'm not dead. Are you very disappointed?" Qin Feiyong laughed disdainfully and said, "Whether you die or not, it's the same to me." "That's right. You are all 5-star War Master, and I have only broken through to 2-star War Master. In your eyes, I am naturally nothing. But let me tell you, this matter will not end like this." Mu Qing said, "You still dare to threaten us?" Wolf King and Fatso looked at each other, a cold light flashing past their eyes. "You want to kill me? Come on, if I frown. I'm not worthy of being a descendant of the Mu family." Mu Qing coldly looked at Qin Feiyong and the other two. "All right, brother will fulfill your wish." Wolf King took a step forward, his eyes brimming with killing intent. Clang clang. But at this moment, accompanied by a loud sound, a stone door flew out from between Mu Qing's brows. It was the fake gate of time and space. The gate of time and space did not awaken. but the aura it emitted made it impossible for Wolf King to get close. With your abilities, even if I give you a chance, you won't be able to kill me now. Do you know what Elder Shung's status is in my Mu family? Let me tell you, he is just a butler of my Mu family. So, if you want to kill me, you have to work hard to cultivate. Mu Qing laughed disdainfully and immediately opened a teleportation gate. Bringing the gate of time and space with her, she walked in without looking back. Qin Feiyong was also prepared to take out his battle sword. But he was still a step too late, and Mu Qing slipped away. Looking at the dissipating teleportation gate, the expressions of the two men and the wolf were very ugly. What kind of sacred being is this Mu family? Fatso frowned. If a butler was an 8-star battle saint, then how powerful would the elders and patriarch of the Mu family be? At this moment, the two men and the wolf deeply realized that Mu Qing's identity was far more terrifying than they had imagined. Who could afford to provoke such a behemoth like her? Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly. He looked at Fatso and said, "Quickly check the chief's Qiankuan bag." Fatso immediately sank his mind into the Qiankuan bag. Wolf King glanced at Fatso and said, "Little Qin Zi, when that mysterious madam saw Elder Shung's war spirit, she had a reaction. You must have noticed it." Qin Feiyong nodded. "This woman must be related to the Mu family. You said that she deliberately showed mercy. Is it because of the Mu family?" Wolf King said. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. "She wants us to fight to the death with the Mu family first. Then she can sit back and reap the benefits. While she is at it, she can also watch a good show," Wolf King said. Qin Feiyong frowned. The possibility that Wolf King mentioned could not be ignored. "Got it." At this time, Fatso's eyes lit up. He took out a black token and handed it to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong took it in his hand and looked at it carefully. The token was as big as a baby's palm. There was a picture of an ancient tower engraved on the front and a name on the back. Mu Qiuyu. Mu Qiuyu should be the name of the chief. The picture of the ancient tower may be the symbol of the Pill Tower. It seems that this should be the chief's identity token, Fatso said. Qin Feiyong nodded thoughtfully and asked, "Is there anything else?" "I'll look again," Fatso said. A moment later, Fatso's eyes showed a trace of disappointment. He looked at Qin Feiyong and shook his head. "Except for some pill recipes and herbs, there is no information about the flame of heavenly thunder." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and looked up at the Pill Tower in the distance. He pondered for a while and said, "Let's go inside and have a look." Whoosh! The two men and one wolf quickly arrived at the entrance of the Pill Tower. When the scarred man left the Pill Tower, he did not close the door, so the stone door of the Pill Tower was now open. Qin Feiyong rushed in and went straight to the top floor. The two men and one wolf were no strangers to the layout of the Pill Tower. Not long after, they appeared in front of the Pill Master's alchemy room. The stone door was half open. Qin Feiyong walked in. After so many years, there was no change in this place. The only difference was that the secret door of the secret room where the flame of heavenly thunder was hidden was now wide open. Qin Feiyong stood in the middle of the secret room and scanned his surroundings. Without the flame of heavenly thunder, this place had become much cooler. But after observing for a moment, he did not find anything suspicious. More than 10 breaths later, he retracted his gaze and looked at Fatso and Wolf King. "It seems that to fully understand the flame of heavenly thunder, we have to go deeper into the Pill Tower," Fatso said. "In the deeper parts of the Pill Tower, there will definitely be more experts. Should we increase our strength first?" Qin Feiyong muttered to himself. Wolf King suddenly said, "Do you think that mysterious lady knows the secret of the flame of heavenly thunder?" "I'm not sure." Fatso shook his head, then looked around and said, "On the other hand, this Pill Tower, don't you think it's very strange?" "It is a little strange." Wolf King nodded, and then asked in surprise, "Could it really be a sacred artifact? Do you think sacred artifacts are cabbages?" Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at it, but his eyes were also filled with doubt. One had to know. Before Old Man Shung died, he had personally said that the mysterious lady was a war king. The pressure of the war king was actually unable to destroy this Pill Tower. It was truly inconceivable. "Let's go out and take a look." Qin Feiyang said. The two men and one wolf quickly flew out of the pill tower and stood in the air, sizing it up. After a long time, Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "Although I don't know why this ancient tower is so hard, I dare to conclude that it is not a sacred artifact. How can you be sure?" Fatso asked suspiciously. If this ancient tower is really a sacred artifact, then when the pagoda master faced Old Man Shang and the mysterious lady, she would definitely forcefully revive it to save her life. However, she did not do so. Qin Feiyang said, "What if she knew that even if she revived this ancient tower, she would not be able to defeat Old Man Shang and that woman? So she simply did not revive it." Fatso said, "There is such a possibility. But have you ever thought about what kind of existence that mysterious lady is? How could she not see through it? If it really was a sacred artifact, she would have taken it away long ago. Why would she wait for us to come? So, stop dreaming." Chapter 759. Heard of it? Fatso immediately lost interest. Qin Feiyang looked at him in amusement and said, "Let's go to White Fox City." "What? To White Fox City?" Immediately, Fatso and Wolf King stared at Qin Feiyang in shock. "What are you afraid of? If we disguise ourselves, as long as we don't cause trouble, who will know it's us?" Qin Feiyang said. Fatso frowned. "Then what are you going to White Fox City for?" Qin Feiyang said, "I'm going to buy some teleportation portals and see if the mysterious madam is still there." "Do you think the mysterious madam will leave White Fox City?" Wolf King asked. Qin Feiyang nodded. The mysterious madam must have concealed her identity and lurked in White Fox City for some reason. And now that her whereabouts had been exposed, the chances of her leaving were very high. Looking at the man and wolf, Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Forget it. You guys go to the castle to cultivate. I'll go alone." Finished. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent Fatso and Wolf King to the castle. Then, he opened a teleportation gate and strode in. Not long after Qin Feiyang left, two figures descended from the sky above the Pill Pagoda. One of them was Mu Qing. The other person was a middle-aged man wearing a white robe. His face was rough, and there were strands of white hair on his temples. The aura he exuded was unfathomable, like a vast ocean. The middle-aged man scanned the area below, his eyes filled with vicissitudes of life. "Looks like Qin Feiyang has already left." His voice was full of vigor, with a great sense of majesty. Mu Qing frowned and bowed. "It's my fault for not doing my job well and losing the sacred artifact. Please punish me, Father." Losing the sacred artifact is indeed not a small matter. But now that your sister is dead, I only have one child. How can I bear to punish you? But as the clan leader, I can't possibly cover for you, right? So, when you go back, go find the elders of the various clans and take the initiative to apologize to them and ask for leniency. The middle-aged man looked at Mu Qing dotingly. "I understand." Mu Qing nodded, then frowned and said, "But the heavenly thunder flame, don't worry. As long as the heavenly lightning flames aren't in the hands of those people from the Pill Tower, everything will be fine. The person I'm most concerned about now is still that mysterious woman. She's actually a warlord. If we don't find her and find out her identity, it will cause endless trouble for our Mu clan." The middle-aged man said worriedly. Mu Qing's eyes flashed as he said, "Leave this matter to me. Consider it a chance for me to make amends for my mistakes." "That works too. However, I still have to go back first and meet with the elders." The middle-aged man waved his hand and opened a teleportation door. Then, he walked in with Mu Qing. At the same time, Qin Feiyang first found a pool, washed the bloodstains on his body, changed into a clean set of clothes, and then entered the White Fox City with a disguise. Everywhere he went, the discussions he heard were basically all about the destruction of Sky Thunder City. He did not stay in the city for long. After buying enough teleportation doors, he went to the city lord's mansion to inquire. In the end, that mysterious lady really did not come back. Frankly speaking, if the mysterious lady was still in the White Fox City, he would be a little more at ease. But now, the mysterious lady had disappeared without a trace, and no one knew where she was hiding. It could be said that it was impossible to guard against her. However, this was something that couldn't be helped. He could only be more vigilant when he was doing things normally. Following that, he left the White Fox City and once again appeared in the sky above the Pill Tower. If he remembered correctly, the City Lord had said that there was a glacier 1,000 miles away from the Sky Thunder City. As long as he crossed that glacier, he would be able to enter the next region of the Forgotten Continent. Shua. Qin Feiyang did not stay any longer. He turned into a ray of light and flew towards the depths like lightning. An hour later, a towering and majestic glacier finally entered Qin Feiyang's line of sight. At a glance, it was covered in thick snow everywhere. Layers upon layers of mountains stretched for tens of thousands of miles. And from afar, Qin Feiyang could already feel the terrifying might of the glacier. Even at the edge of the glacier, he could sense no less than dozens of one-Star Wars sect's ferocious might. It was no wonder that the Sky Thunder City's City Lord did not dare to set foot in this glacier. To ordinary people, this glacier was a forbidden area. 9 deaths and 1 life. Boom. Qin Feiyang's aura of a 5-Star Wars sect erupted, and without the slightest pause, he directly rushed into the glacier. Roar! When the ferocious beasts below saw that there were outsiders invading, they immediately roared. However, not a single ferocious beast dared to charge forward, as they were all intimidated by Qin Feiyang's aura. Along the way, it could be considered unimpeded. However, the deeper they went, the stronger the ferocious beasts they encountered. Until the 3rd day. Roar! A black panther soared into the sky. It was over 100 feet long and opened its bloody mouth as it pounced towards Qin Feiyang. This black panther had the cultivation of a 5-Star Wars sect. You're courting death. Qin Feiyang's gaze turned cold as he waved his hand in the air and instantly killed it. Blood was like a waterfall, dyeing the sky red. Below, there were originally some fierce beasts that wanted to rush up and take a share of the loot. However, when they saw the strength that Qin Feiyang displayed, they were like chickens flying and dogs jumping, scaring them to the point of fleeing in panic. 5th day. The fierce beasts that Qin Feiyang encountered basically all had the cultivation of a 7-Star Wars sect. As soon as he came up, it was not as easy as before. From time to time, a fierce beast would jump out to block his path. There were even some fierce beasts that, although they only had the cultivation of a 7-Star Wars sect, the strength they displayed was almost on par with Qin Feiyang. The 9th day. When Qin Feiyang passed by a canyon, a huge white tiger rushed out from the canyon and blocked his path. This huge tiger was dozens of feet tall, like a small mountain, and its cultivation had reached the level of an 8-Star Wars sect. Qin Feiyang only managed to kill it after a bitter battle. Next, the fierce beasts he encountered were basically all 8-Star Wars sect. On the 11th day, Qin Feiyang had no choice but to stop in his tracks, because on top of an ice mountain in front of him, he sensed a ferocious might that made his heart palpitate. This ferocious might was shockingly the 9-Star Wars sect. In other words, on top of the ice mountain, there was a 9-Star Wars sect ferocious beast lurking. Moreover, in this area, he did not sense any other ferocious auras. This was enough to show that the ferocious beast lurking on the ice mountain was the emperor of this area. However, after 11 consecutive days of traveling, he still could not see the end of the glacier. It felt as if this glacier was endless. Looks like I have to take a detour. Looking at the ice mountain in front of him, Qin Feiyang frowned, retracted his aura, and rushed to the side. Chirp! However, just as he was about to circle around, a sharp cry suddenly rang out from the ice mountain. Have we been discovered? Qin Feiyang was shocked. He immediately looked over and saw a huge ferocious bird flying out from the peak of the ice mountain. It was a snow eagle. Its entire body was snow white and its body was extremely large. When its wings were spread out, it was more than 100 feet long. And that pair of huge eagle eyes also flickered with an extremely sharp light. Qin Feiyang was shocked by the snow eagle. It wasn't because he was shocked by the snow eagle's strength, but because there were 2 pairs of wings on the snow eagle's back. A terrifying name surfaced in his mind. Double-winged snow eagle. According to the ancient records, this double-winged snow eagle was the same as the snow python and the snow mountain ape. They were all species from 10,000 years ago and had long been extinct, but he didn't expect to meet one here. Moreover, it was the 9 Star Wars sect. Human, hand over your life. This emperor will let you die a little faster. The double-winged snow eagle stared at Qin Feiyang, and that cold and stern voice entered Qin Feiyang's mind. Humph. Qin Feiyang coldly snorted. Surrender obediently, and I will spare your life. This double-winged snow eagle was very beautiful. Its entire body was as white as snow, and its eyes were as clear as diamonds. Therefore, he planned to subdue it and give it to Lu Hong as a mount. The most important thing was, the double-winged snow eagle just so happened to be a 9 Star Wars sect. As long as he could subdue it, he could immediately open the door to his potential. What did you just say? The double-winged snow eagle's wings paused, and it stopped in the air, looking at Qin Feiyang in a daze. Qin Feiyang said, "Follow me, and I will grant you a great fortune." Ha. The double-winged snow eagle laughed wildly. Is there something wrong with this human's head? A mere 5-star war sect actually dared to make it submit? Insignificant human. Your arrogance will cause you to die miserably. The double-winged snow eagle laughed sinisterly, and with a flap of its 4 huge wings, it shot towards Qin Feiyang like a meteor. Boom. Qin Feiyang did not hesitate to activate the battle character art. His long hair and eyes instantly turned blood red, and a terrifying fighting intent shook the glacial land. There was a certain difference between the 9 Star Wars sect's berserk beasts and humans. If he was facing a human from the 9 Star Wars sect, Qin Feiyang would definitely not pester him and turn around to leave. This was because humans would more or less master 1 or 2 battle arts. However, although the berserk beasts were innately stronger than humans in terms of physical body, unless it was the berserk beasts that followed humans, they would not have any battle arts. Of course, it was also possible that he would encounter a few battle arts by chance somewhere, but this possibility was too low. So, facing this double-winged snow eagle, Qin Feiyang could still take a gamble. Shua. After activating the battle character art, he immediately used the phantom steps, and his speed was almost the same as the double-winged snow eagle. So fast, the double-winged snow eagle was surprised, but its huge eyes were still filled with disdain. 1 man and 1 beast collided with each other like lightning. Qin Feiyang directly raised his arm, and the battle character art appeared in his palm. Golden light surged as he slapped the double-winged snow eagle's claws. Boom! The double-winged snow eagle was sent flying on the spot, but it did not cause much damage to it, only its skin and flesh. However, Qin Feiyang's move shocked the double-winged snow eagle. It could actually bounce back its power? Was this a dream? Did you see that? Although your cultivation is higher than mine, I have mastered the divine art. You are not my opponent at all. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and rushed forward again, slapping with his palm. The double-winged snow eagle did not dare to meet it head-on and quickly turned around to fly away. After opening up a distance, it turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked in surprise, "What did you just say? You have mastered the divine art?" "That's right." Qin Feiyang nodded. Ha. Chapter 760. Qin Feiyang said, "You don't believe me? I'd be a fool to believe you." The double-winged snow eagle sneered. Its huge body trembled and 2 rays of white light shot out from its back. When it appeared in the sky, it was a pair of light wings. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. This was the double-winged snow eagle's fighting soul? The pair of wings floated in the sky and flapped slightly. Its entire body was snow-white and light poured out like a pair of angels' wings. "Lowly human, I'll show you the power of my fighting soul." The double-winged snow eagle sneered. The pair of light wings quickly fell and attached to its back. There were now 3 pairs of wings. Swoosh! Immediately after, the double-winged snow eagle moved. Like a flash of lightning, even Qin Feiyang could not catch a trace of it. According to his estimation, the double-winged snow eagle's speed was at least 4 times faster than before. Boom! Qin Feiyang could not dodge in time, and was hit in the chest by the double-winged snow eagle's claws. Puff! As he spat out a mouthful of blood, his entire body smashed into the glacier below like a meteorite. The land within a radius of a few miles was razed to the ground in an instant. Why did it suddenly become so fast? Could it be because of the fighting soul? Qin Feiyang, who was buried under the ice and snow, was overwhelmed with shock. If it wasn't for the battle incantation protecting him, he would have lost his life. However, even though he didn't die, his chest was lacerated and blood was gushing out. There were even a few cracks on his heart. Without hesitation, he took out a heart protection pill and threw it into his mouth. The pill melted in his mouth and turned into a majestic energy that quickly repaired his damaged heart. Boom! Subsequently, he fiercely punched upwards, and the ice and snow that buried him immediately shot out in all directions. Swoosh! Immediately after, he flew out and stood in the void opposite the double-winged snow eagle. He looked at the pair of light wings in shock. How is it? I'm powerful, right? This fighting soul is equivalent to a perfect auxiliary battle skill. It can increase my speed by 4 times. Moreover, if I master an auxiliary battle skill, my speed can be doubled. The double-winged snow eagle looked at him proudly. What? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. If it could only increase his speed by 4 times, it would not be surprising. But it could be doubled? Stacking meant that if it grasped an auxiliary battle art, it would be able to increase the power of the auxiliary battle art by 4 times. For example, if the double-winged snow had a perfect auxiliary battle skill and activated battle skill, its speed would increase by 8 times. What was 8 times? With its speed, it's TSSU, regret? But it's too late for regrets. Snow, T-note T of course, Qin Feiyang coldly snorted. Roar-A Dragon's roar reverberated throughout the world. In the next moment, a purple-gold divine dragon roared as it emerged from behind him. The dragon's might was vast and intimidating. What? You've activated the dragon soul? The double-winged snow eagle's eyes trembled as a sense of awe rose in its heart. The dragon was the supreme of all beasts. What more, the purple-gold divine dragon with the highest bloodline. Therefore, no matter what kind of beast it was, it would be fearful when it saw the purple-gold dragon soul. I'll give you one more chance. Submit to me, or you'll die today. Qin Feiyang leaped up and stood on the head of the purple-gold dragon soul. He was like the overlord of heaven and earth, exuding a domineering aura that could intimidate all living things. The beasts within a radius of dozens of miles could not help but prostrate on the ground and worship him respectfully. The double-winged snow eagle raised its head and looked at Qin Feiyang and the purple-gold dragon soul. Its heart trembled. It seems like it's not intimidating enough. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. The 9-leaf fire lotus soared into the sky. Waves of fire surged and the sky was dyed red. What? Double war souls? The double-winged snow eagle's eyes widened in shock. Shing! Before it could regain its senses, the crimson sword soul shot out of Qin Feiyang's body and hovered above his head, radiating a dazzling light. This. He has activated 3 war souls. The double-winged snow eagle's eyes widened in anger. Was this a joke? How could someone activate 3 war souls? However, the truth was right before its eyes. It had no choice but to believe it. It glanced at the 3 war souls and looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. It asked, "Who are you?" A person who could activate 3 war souls was definitely not a simple person. "Submit to me, and I'll tell you." Qin Feiyang said expressionlessly. The double-winged snow eagle was truly shocked. It did not know what to do. Qin Feiyang smirked. He waved his hand in the air. With a loud clang, the holy weapon battle sword appeared out of thin air. Boom! All of a sudden, a terrifying saint aura surged out in all directions. This is... The double-winged snow eagle trembled in fear. Holy weapon, Qin Feiyang said word by word. His voice was as loud as a bell, resounding through the clouds. At the same time, the double-winged snow eagle's heart was in turmoil. Not only did he activate 3 war souls, but he also possessed a holy weapon. Who exactly was this human? Now tell me, will you submit to me? Qin Feiyang asked. His voice was very calm. However, when it entered the double-winged snow eagle's ears, it was like a clap of thunder. It struggled for a moment before it lowered its proud head and said respectfully, I submit. Qin Feiyang smiled. He could tell that the double-winged snow eagle was sincere in submitting to him. With a thought, the 3 war souls entered his qi. However, just as he was about to put away the sword, he suddenly frowned. He discovered that there were actually 3 cracks on the blade of the battle sword. What was going on? He clearly remembered that when the 2 old men took out the sword, the blade was still intact. Could it be because of the rib? Ever since the sword was taken out, it had only collided with the rib. In other words, the 3 cracks could have been caused when the sword collided with the rib. That was unbelievable. If the rib could damage a holy weapon, did that not mean that the power of the rib was far greater than that of the holy weapon? How powerful was Mu Tianyang when he was alive? Whoosh! While Qin Feiyang was in a daze, the double-winged snow eagle did not run away. On the contrary, it flapped its 4 wings and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. Looking at the sword, its huge eyes shone with a green light. When Qin Feiyang noticed the look in its eyes, his expression froze. He was familiar with that look. This was because Wolf King often had the same look in his eyes when he saw treasures. Don't tell me it's another top-grade item? Qin Feiyang mumbled and asked with a smile, do you want it? Yes. The double-winged snow eagle nodded and drooled. Looking at the drool on the double-winged snow eagle's mouth, Qin Feiyang's face twitched. Sure enough, it was another treasure. Forget it. Just treat it as a misunderstanding. Don't follow me. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, put away the sword, and flew away. The double-winged snow eagle was stunned and hurriedly shouted, Want to escape? No way. Then it flapped its wings and chased after Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang frowned and turned back. I let you go. Shouldn't you be grateful? Bah. Why should I be grateful? Anyway, since I have chosen to follow you, you have to be responsible for me. The double-winged snow eagle snorted. Qin Feiyang did not know whether to laugh or cry. He said helplessly, Brother, I regret it, okay? No. Let me tell you, if you dare to abandon me, I will order all the ferocious beasts in this glacier to come and kill you. At that time, you will be exhausted to death. The double-winged snow eagle sneered, like a scoundrel. Abandon me? Qin Feiyang's face darkened and said angrily, I didn't do anything to you. Why should I be responsible for you? You didn't do anything to me, but you scared me just now, and my heart is very fragile. The double-winged snow eagle said shamelessly. Qin Feiyang was physically and mentally exhausted. This guy was simply like a dog skin plaster. Once stuck, he could not get rid of it even if he wanted to. Suddenly, he frowned slightly and said, You just said that you can order all the ferocious beasts in this glacier? That's right. I am the ruler of this glacier. The double-winged snow eagle laughed proudly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. This bastard was indeed comparable to the Wolf King. The double-winged snow eagle looked like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water. He laughed and said, What is the great fortune you mentioned just now? Potential pill, potential pill. Qin Feiyang glared at it in annoyance, then turned around and continued on his way. What is a potential pill and a potential pill? The double-winged snow eagle chased after him and asked curiously. Qin Feiyang said impatiently, A pill to open the door of potential? What? The door of potential can be opened with a pill? The double-winged snow eagle was shocked and quickly smiled. Then look, now that I have followed you, shouldn't you fulfill your promise? Not now. The time is not right. Qin Feiyang shook his head. To open the door of potential, one needed the assistance of pressure, and the double-winged snow eagle was a 9-Star Wars sect. Therefore, he had to wait for an opportunity. Don't be like this. This emperor is sincerely following you. So hurry up and give it to me. As a person, you can't go back on your word. However, the double-winged snow eagle did not know that opening the door of potential required the assistance of pressure, and Qin Feiyang was too lazy to explain. Therefore, along the way, the double-winged snow eagle kept pestering Qin Feiyang. Finally, Qin Feiyang really couldn't take it anymore. He threw a transformation pill and a barrier-breaking pill to the double-winged snow eagle, and after it consumed them, he forcefully sent it to the castle. This time, his ears were finally at peace. However, from the double-winged snow eagle's mouth, he had a rough understanding of this glacier. This glacier was very vast, and he was only in the center. In other words, if Qin Feiyang wanted to cross this glacier, he would still need more than 10 days. And inside the glacier, not only were there fierce beasts, there were also many precious medicinal herbs. Along the way, he did find a lot of precious medicinal herbs. Moreover, these medicinal herbs were all very old. There were medicinal herbs that were 100 years old. There were also medicinal herbs that had grown for thousands of years. Chapter 761. In the blink of an eye, 8 days had passed. At this time, Qin Feiyang was only 4 to 5 days away from the other side of the glacier. Along the way, in order to find medicinal herbs, he had wasted a lot of time. This morning, when he passed by a snow forest, he suddenly smelled a faint fragrance in the air. What is it? His expression froze as he sniffed carefully. His eyes immediately lit up. This was the fragrance of medicine. There must be some rare medicinal herbs down there. Shwa. He swooped down and landed in the snow forest. Smelling the medicinal fragrance, he went down to search. A moment later, he walked out of the snow forest and arrived in front of an ice valley. The ice valley wasn't very big. There were ice peaks on all sides, and there was only one narrow entrance. Qin Feiyang looked at the entrance, his eyes shining. The medicinal fragrance came from the ice valley. Moreover, the medicinal fragrance here was several times stronger than the medicinal fragrance he smelled before. Shwa. Qin Feiyang turned into a ray of light and rushed into the ice valley like lightning. But when he entered the ice valley, he immediately braked and looked ahead with a vigilant expression. Roar. Just as Qin Feiyang entered the ice valley, roars exploded one after another, resounding in all directions. The ice valley was about 3,000 meters long. The ground was covered with a thick layer of ice that was as bright as a mirror. And in the center of the ice valley, there was a huge, vicious beast. It was an ape that was 3 to 4 meters tall. Its hair was as white as snow, and its entire body emitted an extremely terrifying and vicious aura. And on its shoulders, there were actually 4 heads. At this moment, it stared fixedly at Qin Feiyang, its 8 bell-like fierce eyes flashing with an astonishing ferocious light. Snow Mountain Ape? Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with shock. The Snow Mountain Ape was also a species from 10,000 years ago. Moreover, when it broke through to the war chief, it would grow a second head. When it broke through to the war emperor, it would grow a third head. And when it broke through to the war master, it would grow a 4th head. In other words, the Snow Mountain Ape in front of him had already broken through to the war master. But that was not the point. The point was that even Qin Feiyang was unable to see through the cultivation of this Snow Mountain Ape. According to his speculation, it should be an 8-star war sect. The Snow Mountain Ape of the 8 Stars War Sect was not an ordinary person, because the Snow Mountain Ape was the same as other apes. Not only was it extremely strong, but its physical defense was also extremely shocking. Furthermore, their speed was extremely fast, and they could basically crush humans of the same level. However, shouldn't the fierce beasts of the 8 Stars War Sect live in the central region? Why are you here? Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He took a few steps to the side and looked behind the Snow Mountain Ape. His eyes immediately shone with a heroic light. Behind the Snow Mountain Ape, there was a circular ice pillar. The icicles were more than a meter tall and as thick as a water bucket, emitting cold air. And at the top of the ice pillar, there was a piece of snow crystal. The snow crystal was about the size of an adult's palm. It was like a snowflake that emitted a hazy radiance. Furthermore, there was a naturally formed tiger-shaped spirit pattern on the snow crystal. This meant that this snow crystal was at least 10,000 years old. Qin Feiyang looked at the snow crystal and felt extremely excited. Refining small creation required all 10,000-year-old medicinal herbs. The snow crystal was one of them, and it was one of the most important medicinal herbs. I must get it. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands, Suppressing the excitement in his heart, he looked at the snow mountain ape and smiled. You and I need that snow crystal. Can you give it to me? Scram. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, the snow mountain ape's voice that was filled with hostility exploded in his head. Qin Feiyong patiently said, I can use other treasures to exchange. If you don't scram, don't blame me for being impolite. The snow mountain ape didn't listen at all. Qin Feiyong frowned and said in a deep voice, I don't want to hurt you. Give me the snow crystal immediately. A mere 5-star war sect dares to boast shamelessly. The snow mountain ape sneered and walked towards Qin Feiyong. With every step he took, the ice valley would tremble and rumble. Qin Feiyong's gaze darkened. It seemed that in order to obtain the snow crystal, he had to first defeat this violent ape. Ant, go to hell. When it was only 100 feet away, the snow mountain ape suddenly swooped down and instantly rushed in front of Qin Feiyong. Its millstone-sized fist carried an ear-piercing whistling sound as it smashed towards Qin Feiyong. You don't know what's good for you. Qin Feiyong's expression was slightly cold. He stretched out his arm and struck out with his palm without dodging at all. The moment the fist and palm collided, the layer of ice beneath the feet of the man and beast crazily cracked open. The entire ice valley began to tremble at this moment. The next moment, the snow mountain ape spat out a mouthful of blood, and its thick arm was torn open on the spot. Its huge body was like a meteor as it crashed into the ice mountain opposite it. Crack! The ice mountain that was several hundred meters tall was instantly shattered and crumbled. The snow mountain ape was buried deep inside. Shwa! Qin Feiyong did not care about it and rushed towards the snow crystal like lightning. Crash! But at this moment, a black iron chain that was as thick as an arm swept down from above and headed straight for Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. There was someone else? But when he raised his head and saw the iron chain, a trace of disdain crept into his eyes. It was just an ordinary iron chain. But the iron chain was very fast. Like a giant python, it swept in front of him in the blink of an eye. Qin Feiyong stretched out his arm without hesitation and grabbed it in his hand. Immediately, a terrifying force came over, and it actually blasted him back a few steps. Humph! After he stabilized his body, he immediately snorted coldly and clenched his 5 fingers, ready to crush the iron chain. However, he was shocked to find that he could not exert any strength. Then he immediately sensed that a mysterious force was surging into his body. And this mysterious force came from the iron chain in his hand. Is there something wrong with the iron chain? Qin Feiyong was shocked and quickly looked at the iron chain carefully. He did not know if he did not look, but when he looked at it, he was shocked. This was not an ordinary iron chain at all, but an iron chain made of gravity divine iron. Gravity divine iron could imprison the cultivation and strength of living creatures. Once bound by the gravity divine iron, no matter how high one's cultivation was, they would become a powerless, ordinary person. Who is so insidious? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and hurriedly let go. With a clang, the iron chain fell to the ground and immediately smashed a deep pit. Human, I will kill you. It was also at this moment. An angry roar exploded. The snow mountain ape rushed out from the collapsed ice peak and charged towards Qin Feiyong with a monstrous, murderous aura. Damn it! Qin Feiyong was extremely angry. If it were not for someone secretly playing tricks, he would have already obtained the snow crystal. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong raised his head to look at the snow mountain ape and shouted, I've already been very polite to you. If you continue to be stubborn, don't blame me for being ruthless. However, the snow mountain ape turned a deaf ear to him and charged forward in an instant. It raised its huge foot high and stomped towards Qin Feiyong. All right, I'll fulfill your wish. Qin Feiyong finally lost his patience. With a wave of his hand, the battle sword appeared. He grabbed the hilt of the sword and slashed out. Terrifying sword chi swept in all directions. With a crack, the snow mountain ape's thick leg was directly cut off by the battle sword. Blood poured down like a waterfall, dyeing the ice valley red. Roar! The snow mountain ape roared in pain and hurriedly rose into the air. It retreated far away, and stared at the battle sword in Qin Feiyang's hand in horror. Qin Feiyang looked at it indifferently, grabbed the battle sword, and rushed towards the snow crystal again. Crack! But just as he arrived in front of the ice pillar and reached out to grab the snow crystal, the ice layer under his feet suddenly cracked. Immediately after, another dark iron chain swept out from the broken ice layer. Like a poisonous snake, it pierced through his legs and tied them to his legs. Immediately, the power in his body receded like the tide. His entire body slumped powerlessly to the ground. With a clang, the battle sword also fell out of his hand and fell to the ground beside him. Qin Feiyang lowered his head to look, and a cold light suddenly surged in his eyes. This was actually another iron chain made of gravity divine iron. Who the hell is it? He scanned his surroundings, his eyes cold and bone-chilling. Hee-hee. Accompanied by a chuckle, an old man walked out from the ice peak on the left. Crack. At the same time, the ice layer behind Qin Feiyang also cracked, and an old figure also swept out. Both of them had white hair and white beards, and were emaciated. One was wearing a snow-white robe, while the other was wearing a black robe. That dry old face was full of complacent smiles at this moment. Shua. On the ice peak, the white-clothed old man leaped and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. He bent down and picked up the battle sword. After sizing it up for a while, he nodded and laughed. It is indeed a good sword. The black-clothed old man walked forward and asked curiously, "Let me see." The white-clothed old man handed it over. The black-clothed old man took it in his hand and carefully examined it for a while. Then, he flicked it with his finger, producing a crisp sound. Not only is there no noise at all, it can also easily cut off one of the snow ape's legs. What level of weapon is this? Immediately, the black-clothed old man's eyes revealed a trace of bewilderment. Who are you? Qin Feiyang frowned. We? The two old men looked at each other and smiled. The white-clothed old man said proudly, "This old man is the old patriarch of the Li tribe, and the one beside me is the old patriarch of the Wang tribe. So it's people from those two tribes." Qin Feiyang muttered. The Sky Thunder City Lord had said that there was a Wang tribe and a Li tribe on the other side of the glacier, and these two tribes each had a 5-star war master overseeing them. The two people in front of him happened to be 5-star war master. Presumably, the City Lord was talking about these two people. "You're also here for the snow crystal?" Qin Feiyang asked calmly. "That's right. We discovered a long time ago that there was a 10,000-year-old snow crystal here, but that damned snow ape has been following us closely, leaving us with nothing to do. Just a while ago, we found these two chains made of gravity divine iron. Originally, these two iron chains were used to deal with that bastard. And in order to deal with it, we spent a lot of effort and even dug a tunnel underground. Seeing that the time was right, we were just about to take action, but we never thought that you would suddenly appear and easily take care of that beast. Brat, if you don't want to die, then tell us honestly, what level of battle weapon is this battle sword?" Chapter 762. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two of them. A dignified 5-star war sect actually didn't even know about sacred artifacts. They were truly frogs at the bottom of a well. His mind stirred. The battle sword suddenly trembled and broke free from the black-clothed old man's hands, releasing a world-shaking holy might. The two of them were sent flying on the spot, as if they had suffered a heavy blow, and blood spurted out of their mouths. Next, Qin Feiyang raised his arm with difficulty and pulled out the chain that had pierced through his thigh. At that moment, the power that had been restrained surged towards his limbs and bones like a tide. The explosive power instantly filled every cell in his body. Shua! He suddenly stood up, stretched out his arm, and the battle sword automatically fell into his hand. What level of war weapon is this? He lowered his head, rubbed the blade, and muttered to himself. Suddenly, he raised his head to look at the two of them and said coldly, "To be able to be the souls of the dead under the sacred artifact, it can be considered the glory of your life." As soon as he finished, he raised his battle sword and slashed through the air. Clang! A ray of sword chi roared out, bringing with it a world-destroying sharpness as it slashed towards the two of them. What? It's actually a sacred artifact. Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, the two of them trembled both physically and mentally, their faces deathly pale. Don't kill us? Please, we were wrong. We won't dare to do it again, the two of them wailed. But everything was in vain. The sword chi was like a rainbow, directly cutting the two of them into two pieces, blood splattering across the sky. At the same time, the ice valley also crazily collapsed. Whoosh! Seeing this scene, the snow mountain ape's heart trembled in fear as it hurriedly turned around and fled into the air. Qin Feiyang raised his head to look, his eyes flickering. But in the end, he withdrew his gaze, reached out to grab the snow crystal, and soared into the sky, quickly disappearing into the horizon. Not long after he disappeared, a white figure flew out from a nearby ice peak and stood high up in the sky, looking in the direction Qin Feiyang disappeared. It was that mysterious lady. Interesting. The corner of her mouth pursed into a faint smile as she muttered to herself and disappeared without a trace. Not long after, two more figures appeared out of nowhere. One of them was a young man wearing a fitted white robe. He was about 23 or 24 years old and had a dignified appearance. The other person was a black-clothed old woman. Her body was stooped, and she held a walking stick. Her sunken eyes were suffused with wisps of eerie green light. Young master is indeed a genius. They've all gone to the Forgotten Continent's second region. The black-clothed old woman laughed, but her laughter was somewhat sinister, like the sinister laughter of a malicious spirit, very frightening. It's not that I'm a genius. It's just that I understand Qin Feiyang. If he doesn't figure out the secret of the heavenly thunder flame, he won't give up. And if he wants to investigate this, he can only go to the Pill Tower in the second region. Let's follow them. Don't let them discover us. The white-clothed young man said. With me around, they won't be able to find out. The black-clothed old woman smiled sinisterly. Then, with a wave of her hand, she silently tore through the air with the white-clothed youth. 4 days later, Qin Feiyang stood in the air above a snowy ridge and looked ahead. In front of him was still a forest of ice and snow. Every big tree was like a large snow-white umbrella, standing tall on the ground. And at the end of the forest, there were two huge tribes. The two tribes occupied an area of more than 10 miles. The wooden fences around them were all more than 10 meters tall, preventing the invasion of the cold currents and wind and snow. The buildings inside were also made of wood, emitting an ancient charm. And beside the gates of the two tribes, there was a tall stone tablet erected. On it were carved 4 bold words. Wang tribe, Li tribe. The two tribes were adjacent to each other. There was only a river a few meters wide in between, which could be considered the dividing line. And within the two tribes, Qin Feiyang also sensed quite a few powerful auras. Among them, there were a total of 10 auras of war masters. The auras of war emperors were at least 500 to 600. Compared to the Purple Sun tribe, the Black Tortoise tribe, and the Bright King tribe, they were indeed much stronger. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, then turned into a stream of light and directly swept past the two tribes. Although the old patriarchs of the two tribes had plotted against him, he had already killed them. There was no need to find trouble with the two tribes. However, just as he was about to leave, 2 middle-aged men, one tall and one short, rushed out from the two tribes at the same time and blocked in front of him. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and stopped in the air, sizing up the two of them. One of them was about 2 meters tall. His upper body was exposed, and his bronze skin was filled with an explosive power. The other person was considered normal. He was about 1.8 meters tall and had a thin figure. However, there was a shocking scar on the left side of his face. The auras emitted by the two of them were both 2-star war masters. Qin Feiyang asked, "May I know what the two of you have to teach me?" The two of them also curiously sized up Qin Feiyang. At the same time, a large number of clansmen also appeared from the two tribes below. They looked at Qin Feiyang with slightly fanning eyes. A moment later, the middle-aged man asked, "Did you come from the glacier at the back?" His voice was loud and clear, as deafening as thunder. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. The two of them looked at each other, and a hint of shock flashed across their eyes at the same time. The thin, middle-aged man said again, "So, you're from the first district?" "What first district?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at the two of them in confusion. "You don't even know the first district?" The two of them were stunned. But immediately after, a trace of understanding appeared on their faces. The people of the first district were the lowest class people in the Forgotten Land. How could they know about this? The thin, middle-aged man said, "Is there a city called Sky Thunder City where you were before?" "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded his head. The area around Sky Thunder City is the first district of the Forgotten Continent. It is also the weakest district in the Forgotten Land. And this is the second district of the Forgotten Land. The overall strength is much stronger than the first district. The thin, middle-aged man explained. "There's such a thing?" Qin Feiyong was surprised and asked, "How many districts are there in the Forgotten Land?" The thin, middle-aged man said, "We don't know about that. We only know that there is a third district in the depths." Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed, and he cupped his hands and said, "Then may I ask, is there a pill tower in the second district?" "Yes, in the Ice City. It's estimated to be hundreds of thousands of miles away from here," the thin, middle-aged man said. "So far?" Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said, "Then can the two of you tell me the coordinates?" "We haven't been there either. Only the two old patriarchs have been there, but the two old patriarchs are now in the glacier behind. If little brother is not in a hurry, you can stay in our tribe for a while and wait for them to come back." The two of them smiled and appeared to be amiable. Qin Feiyong was embarrassed. The two old patriarchs had died in his hands a few days ago, and the two of them still greeted him so warmly. It made him feel a little embarrassed. "Ahem." He coughed and cupped his hands and said with a smile, "I'm really in a hurry, so I won't disturb you." He couldn't tell the two of them the truth, right? "I see." The two of them looked at each other, and there was a trace of disappointment in their eyes. The thin, middle-aged man smiled and said, "Since little brother is in a hurry, we won't force you to stay. But we've told you so much. Shouldn't you do something?" Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them suspiciously. They didn't seem to have told him any useful information. So what was there to do? The thin, middle-aged man frowned and said with a smile, "Little brother, we all understand. So don't pretend." "Why should I pretend?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Why did he feel that something was wrong? "Well, then I'll be straightforward. Leave your chinkuan bag, and we'll let you go," the thin, middle-aged man said. His eyes instantly turned cold. The middle-aged man's eyes were also shining with a piercing cold light. "Chinkuan bag?" Qin Feiyong's eyes darkened and said, "I understand. On the surface, you are kindly inviting me to be a guest, but in reality, you are planning to kill me for money." "Ha ha." The middle-aged man laughed loudly and said, "You're not that stupid. Originally, we wanted to trick you into the tribe and take the opportunity to give you a fatal poison. But I didn't expect that you wouldn't fall for it. Then there's no other way. Now we can only snatch it." The thin, middle-aged man laughed. Poison. Qin Feiyong's heart trembled. These two people were too sinister. He almost believed that the two of them had a warm heart. Next, he glanced at the two of them, and the corner of his mouth raised slightly, and said, "Are you that confident?" "Of course. Although your aura is very strong, similar to the two old patriarchs, if you don't agree, we will immediately send a message to the old patriarchs. They will also immediately open the teleportation gate and return. At that time, facing the two old patriarchs, do you think you have any hope of survival?" The thin, middle-aged man said contemptuously. Hee. Qin Feiyong's face was full of ridicule and said, "I'm afraid your old patriarch won't be able to come back." "What do you mean?" The two of them looked at each other, and then at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. "Because I've already killed them, and you guys will die soon." As soon as he finished, Qin Feiyong's eyes turned cold, and he raised his hand to point at the air, and an invisible force emerged. Previous chapter, next chapter, boom. The invisible force was earth-shattering, and in an instant, it drowned the two of them. Accompanied by two painful screams, the two of them were smashed into pieces on the spot. "You dare to deceive my feelings. You're simply courting death." Qin Feiyong laughed coldly. The enthusiasm of the two of them before made him feel guilty. But he didn't expect that the result was just a scam. Next, he glanced at the clansmen of the two tribes below and left. And the clansmen of the two tribes were all dumbstruck at this moment, extremely shocked. Patriarch, suddenly, accompanied by a sorrowful cry, 8 figures rushed into the sky at almost the same time. Looking at the rain of blood, their eyes were filled with sorrow. These 8 people all emitted the aura of a 1-star war master. You dare to provoke Qin Feiyang. You guys really don't know what's good for you. But at this moment, a cold laugh rang out. Then, the mysterious madam appeared. Her face was full of disdain. And who are you? The 8 of them looked at the mysterious lady in surprise. Me. Of course, I'm Qin Feiyang's companion. The mysterious lady pursed her lips and smiled. Her slender jade finger pointed at the air, and a terrifying battle chi roared out. Ah! Those 8 people were instantly obliterated, and not even their bones were left. Immediately after, that battle chi split into 2 and blasted into the 2 tribes below. Boom! Chapter 763. At this time, Qin Feiyang had not gone far. Hearing the loud noise behind him, he stopped in the void and turned around to look at the 2 tribes. There was a trace of doubt in his eyes. What happened? Whoosh! After pondering for a moment, he turned into a ray of light and returned. After a while, he appeared in the sky above the 2 tribes again. Looking at the 2 tribes that had been destroyed, his face was filled with horror. Qin Feiyang, you are too cruel. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens? An angry and sorrowful roar was heard. Qin Feiyang looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw that in the snow beside the 2 tribes, there were more than 100 people gathered together, and they were all staring at him with hatred. These people were all missing arms and legs and were dripping with blood. The one who shouted at Qin Feiyang was a middle-aged man who was a 3-star combat emperor. Qin Feiyang looked at the middle-aged man and frowned. What do you mean? Still pretending? Look at it yourself. This is your masterpiece. Our 2 tribes had more than 200,000 people. But now, only 100 of us are left. You are inhumane. The middle-aged man and the people behind him were filled with grief and indignation. Qin Feiyang flashed and landed in front of the middle-aged man. He said gloomily, "Speak clearly. What happened?" Hypocritical bastard. Kill us all if you dare. The middle-aged man stared at him. Both his eyes and his face were filled with hatred. The people behind the middle-aged man also looked as if they were ready to die. Qin Feiyang's eyebrows couldn't help but knit together tightly as he swept his gaze over these 100 people. Who was it that was so cruel to the 2 tribes? Whoosh! After a while, he turned around decisively and flew away. Because the survivors of the 2 tribes were blinded by hatred, they would not be able to get any answers. Continuing to ask would only be a waste of time. However, from then on, Qin Feiyang always paid attention to his back. Although he didn't know what was going on, he vaguely guessed that there might be a strong enemy following behind him. This person could be Mu Qing, or one of Mu Qing's clansmen, or even that mysterious madam. Therefore, he couldn't tell who it was, so he could only keep an eye out. However, as the days passed, Qin Feiyang did not find any suspicious person. 5 days later, he appeared in the sky above a tribe. This tribe was called the Min tribe. It was much larger than the Li tribe and the Wang tribe. Within the tribe, Qin Feiyang could sense a total of 15 War Master auras. The strongest aura was that of a 6-star War Master. Who? As soon as Qin Feiyang stopped above the Min tribe, a shout exploded in the tribe below. Following closely, a white-robed middle-aged man soared into the sky and stood in front of Qin Feiyang, looking at him warily. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, "I am Qin Feiyang. I have something to ask you." "You are Qin Feiyang." The middle-aged man in white looked as if he had seen a ghost and turned pale with fright. Qin Feiyang frowned, looking at the expression of the middle-aged man in white. He couldn't help but feel uneasy and asked, "You know me?" "Of course I know. You and your accomplices have mercilessly slaughtered over 200,000 people from the Li and Wang tribes. Your vicious methods are simply inhumane. The middle-aged man in white said in disgust. Accomplices? Qin Feiyang was startled and frowned. Who told you? Don't let others know. Don't do it unless it's in the first place. Everyone in the second district knows what you've done. The middle-aged man in white sneered. Qin Feiyang's gaze turned cold, and he said, Don't challenge my patience. Answer me. What is it? You still want to slaughter my Min tribe? Let me tell you, my Min tribe is not something that the Wang tribe and the Li tribe can compare to. The old patriarch of my Min tribe is a 6-star war sect that you can't afford to offend. If you know what's good for you, then obediently surrender. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. The middle-aged man in white shouted coldly, his eyes filled with contempt. 6-star war sect? Qin Feiyang was slightly startled. The corner of his mouth pursed into a playful smile and said, Is a 6-star war sect very strong? Shua. As soon as he finished, he took a step forward, and his large hand, like an eagle's claw, reached out towards the middle-aged man in white's neck. This person was a 3-star war sect, a level stronger than the patriarchs of the Li and Wang tribes. However, in front of Qin Feiyang, it was nothing. Seeing Qin Feiyang start a fight without saying a word, the middle-aged man in white was shocked and quickly retreated. However, how could his speed compare to Qin Feiyang? Qin Feiyang took another step forward and closed in on him with extreme speed. He directly grabbed his neck. Let him go. But at this moment, accompanied by an old shout, a black-clothed old man rushed out from the tribe below and stood opposite of Qin Feiyang. His cold gaze was extremely frightening. Qin Feiyang looked over and said, You are the old patriarch of the Min tribe? The aura this person emitted was that of a 6-star war sect. That's right, it's this old man. The old man in black nodded. Tell me the coordinates of the Ice City. Qin Feiyang did not waste any time and directly revealed the purpose of his trip. You want to go to the Ice City? The old man in black was stunned. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said expressionlessly, Don't worry about what you shouldn't care about. Arrogant. The old man in black was furious, but he endured it and said, This old man can tell you, but you have to let him go first. All right. Qin Feiyang let go without hesitation. With his overwhelming strength, he was not afraid of the two of them playing tricks on him. Cough, cough. The middle-aged man in white also immediately retreated to the side of the old man in black. While staring at Qin Feiyang, he rubbed his throat and kept coughing dryly. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, As you wish, you can speak now. All right, I'll tell you. The old man in black nodded, but killing intent suddenly flashed in his eyes. He turned into a ray of light and rushed towards Qin Feiyang like lightning. At the same time, the pressure of a 6-star war sect erupted, and like a torrent, it pounced towards Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang squinted his eyes, revealing a dangerous signal, and said, What do you mean? You slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people from the Li and Wang tribes. This is simply an unforgivable crime. The city lord of the Ice City has already placed a 100 billion bounty on you. Do you know what a 100 billion bounty means? It means that as long as we can take your head, our Min tribe will be rewarded with 100 billion gold coins. The old man in black said, his old eyes filled with greed. 100 billion? Qin Feiyang was stunned. His head was only worth so much money? Just as he was in a daze, the old man in black had already arrived in front of him. Without the slightest bit of mercy, he clenched his 5 fingers and attacked with all his might, smashing towards Qin Feiyang's head. Seeing that he was about to succeed, even his old face revealed a victorious smile. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang stretched out his arm and slammed his palm into the air, golden light surging from his palm. The moment the fist and palm collided, the old man in black immediately let out a blood-curdling scream and was sent flying. His entire arm was instantly shattered, and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. What? The middle-aged man in white who was watching the battle not far away had a face full of disbelief. He originally thought that Qin Feiyang would be taken down by the old patriarch in one fell swoop. However, he never would have thought that the old patriarch would be severely injured by Qin Feiyang in one move. Was Qin Feiyang's strength that terrifying? 100 billion bounty is very tempting, but it also depends on whether you have the life to spend it. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly as he stepped into the air. Like a god or devil descending to the world, his aura shook the heavens. Don't be arrogant. The old patriarch roared and waved his hands. His battle chi was like a tide, turning into a ferocious beast that pounced towards Qin Feiyang. Its ferocious might shook the sky. This was a type of battle art, and it was a high-grade battle art. At the same time, the old man's face was also filled with confidence. With the cultivation of a 6-star War Master and the amplification of a high-grade battle art, this move had the lethality of a 9-star War Master. He was confident that Qin Feiyang would definitely not be able to block this attack, but the result left him dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang only raised his arm and lightly tapped the air with his index finger. Boom! An invisible force roared out and collided with the ferocious beast. With a wail, the ferocious beast collapsed. Puff! The old patriarch's blood splattered across the sky as he shot backward like a meteorite. Qin Feiyang smiled disdainfully. Whoosh! He used the phantom steps and caught up with the old patriarch in a few breaths. Then, he grabbed the old patriarch's throat and hung him in the air like a little chick. Don't kill me! The old patriarch panicked and hurriedly begged for mercy. He really did not expect this person's strength to be so terrifying. Qin Feiyang said lightly, "If I didn't need the coordinates of Ice City, you would be dead now. Do you understand?" Yes. The old patriarch nodded hurriedly and then gave the coordinates to Qin Feiyang without hesitation. Why didn't you do this earlier? You had to force me to make a move. Aren't you looking for trouble? Qin Feiyang also let go of his hand and smiled faintly. Yes, I was wrong. Thank you for not killing me, sir. The old patriarch nodded submissively. Now, other than agreeing, he did not dare to have any other thoughts at all. The middle-aged man in white lowered his head and did not even dare to breathe loudly. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them, opened a portal and strode in. The old patriarch and the middle-aged man in white only breathed a sigh of relief when the portal disappeared. The middle-aged man in white wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and flew to the old patriarch. He whispered, "Are we letting him go just like that?" The old patriarch was silent for a while and sneered. Letting him go like that is too easy for him. The middle-aged man in white was shocked and asked, "What do you mean, old patriarch? Isn't he going to Ice City?" "I'm going to Ice City now. If I tell the city lord about his whereabouts, I'll definitely get some rewards." The old patriarch said, "Good idea. As long as the city lord receives the news in advance and sets up a heavy ambush at the city gate, he won't be able to escape." The middle-aged man in white smiled and his eyes were filled with killing intent. "How dare you scheme against Qin Feiyang? You really don't know what's good for you." However, before the middle-aged man in white could finish his words, a bone-chilling voice suddenly sounded in the sky. "Who is it?" The old patriarch and the middle-aged man in white were shocked. They looked up and saw a woman in white standing in the void above them. She looked to be in her 30s, but her skin was delicate and fair like a young girl's. She wore a snow-white long dress that was spotless. Her soft and beautiful hair fluttered in the wind. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.